Kevin DeYoung is the preeminent voice in mainstream conservative Protestantism. And unlike nearly every other critic of Christian nationalism, he appears to be entirely genuine and honest. In other words, he is someone to take seriously. So this week, he wrote an article entitled 6 Questions for Christian Nationalists. And so today, we cover those 6 questions. Welcome to Contramundum.
The American Revolution, in other words, is never finished. It must always be renewed.
Greater love than this hath no man, than that he lay down his life for his friend.
What if it's not envy?
We must take back our cities, and take back our culture, and take back our country. God bless you, and God bless America.
Okay, well, welcome.
We're back.
Welcome. We're back. Here we are. Is our table crooked? Look at that. We're gonna fix that. CJ.
You did this. We did this for an hour, and now you're asking if it's crooked.
I know, but now I'm getting self-conscious about it. How are you? What's new?
I'm a little sick. Dragged me out of bed to be here today.
Yeah, he's running a fever. He's like, it's way too hot in here, and I'm freezing. So, and I'm never freezing. So
Now I'm freezing. So
yeah, good. All right. Well, anyway, yeah, he's nearly dead. So,
which
but
is typical.
the show must go on, and CJ's going to be high energy today, like he always is. Always. But yeah, Kevin DeYoung's article. What do you think? What do you think about Kevin DeYoung?
I think he's well intentioned. I say that about everybody though. I'm a nice guy.
James Lindsay, well intentioned.
James Lindsay, I think he thinks he's fighting a crusade on behalf of America.
Yeah,
is that well intentioned?
I think he's convinced himself of. He's getting high on his own supply.
You know what's funny?
Right?
You know, I was doing this. You know how I'm anti-AI?
Uh-huh.
Well, yesterday I was playing around with the AI.
Oh no.
And I was, that the meme of him with the sword. If you plug that into the animator, it's really funny.
Is it really?
I got some good ones stored
like
up.
the Grok thing? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. All
Anyways,
right. Well,
so
yeah. All right. Well, there's a lot.
What else do I think of Kevin DeYoung? He's one of the critics of Christian nationalism who has actually tried to deal with the arguments themselves.
Yeah, someone who's engaging with the argument.
He hasn't done a lot of straw manning. He's actually, it sounds like he's read Stephen's book because he had that longer essay interacting with it, and it was fair. I mean,
it was fair. I mean, it was. I thought it was silly, but like you say,
he tried.
Yeah, like you say, he's actually dealing with the argument.
He took it seriously as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we'll take him seriously.
Exactly. I think we should. I think that his argument against Stephen's book and really his arguments here betray, and I don't think he's aware of it because he's not like none of these people think in these terms, but he is so steeped in and married to.
I should log in so I can see the comments.
Yeah, a post-war view of the world, right? The globalist, egalitarian, liberal, democratic view of anthropology, of politics, of everything. He's so married to that he can't see it. He's a fish in water. He's a fish in water, and he has no idea what anything else would be like. So. I'm a little under the weather too. You can hear me sniffling, so I'm sorry for the audio, especially the audio listeners. Like it's bad for them today, but we're gonna soldier on here. So anyway, like he doesn't see what he can't see, or he doesn't know what he cannot know, and it's really evident in the things he says here. So we should just jump right into it. Let me pull it open here. Right. He begins by saying, "I'm not a Christian nationalist, but I almost could be."
That means we're converting him.
That means, step one, we're winning. Right. In my 2021 article, "What to Do with Christian Nationalism," I argued that there were 2 problems with Christian nationalism. First, no one agrees what Christian nationalism is. I cited Andrew Whitehead and Samuel Perry, who summarized Christian nationalists believe in 6 statements. The federal government should, 1, declare the United States a Christian nation. Do you believe that?
No,
I don't know if I really do. either. I don't think it's necessary.
No, exactly. Like I define Christian, like I think all of Europe, Western Europe, were Christian nations, and not one of them had that declaration in it like that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean, they had details in their laws and constitutions. Their monarchs were Christian monarchs and things like that described that way. But nowhere is there like, this is a Christian. I mean, at least in any kind of like something like the U.S. Constitution, right? There's nothing like that in really any of them. So it isn't like, did Charlemagne declare that that France was a Christian? No, I don't. Maybe he did. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't read every extant piece of primary source material on the reign of Charlemagne to know like whether he did or not. But it just was, right? Right. Like nominal things like that are less important than actuality.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's the reality. So 2, they advocate Christian values. Guilty. 3, not enforce the strict separation of church and state. Well, let's talk about that, right? I believe in the separation of church and state.
Yeah,
you do as well. We all do,
mm-hmm.
right? The state is not the church, and the church is not the state.
Yeah,
right. What they call the strict separation of church and state is the total eradication of church from all public life.
Exactly.
That's what they view as strict separation of church and state. So,
which of course had nothing to do with
the First Amendment,
or the original order, constitutional order.
Exactly. 4, allow religious symbols in public spaces. Everybody believes that,
mm-hmm.
right? Everybody believes it. The lover of the tranny that shot Charlie Kirk believes in religious symbols in public spaces. Andrew Whitehead and Samuel Perry believe in religious symbols in public spaces. They all do, right? When somebody gets arrested for leaving skid marks on the rainbow flag crosswalk, they want that person prosecuted, right?
Mm-hmm.
They want that, right? When the Satan statue is defaced in the Iowa Capitol, they want that guy going to jail.
I don't think
they believe in those things.
Yeah, and by the way, this is probably some of this is agreeable to Kevin. That's what he's saying. He agrees with some of these things too.
But I'm just going through like I think it's important that we go through these things. 5, allow prayer in public schools. Right, all public schools have prayer. Right, whether it's to the Christian God, true God, or some other God. Right, implicitly they're praying. Right, so you're going to worship somebody. Right. So yes, I believe it should be Christian prayer, which we had until the Warren Court, until the middle of the 20th century. Right. In many places we had until, last 20 or 30 years. So it's like, oh, this radical thing, this major change that's never happened in America before. Well, no, that's our entire history. 6, the success of the United States is part of God's plan. Yes, or the failure.
Yeah, the failure. Yeah.
Like everything is, right? So by that definition, a majority of Americans believe one or more tenets of Christian nationalism. I can almost support all 6 of those statements, depending on what is meant by words like declare, advocate, success, and strict separation. This is DeYoung speaking. The Whitehead-Perry definition never stuck. There is still a wide range of views on what people mean by Christian nationalism. The second problem I identified that no one was actually arguing for something called Christian nationalism. If that was generally true in 2021, and in hindsight, I'm sure I missed some early voices embracing the term. I wanted to print this out and the printer wouldn't work, and now I can't scroll right. Sorry. It no longer is the case. In the last 4 years, there have been many people in books and blogs, on podcasts and speeches on X. Right? It's funny. Like he calls it X. I still call it Twitter. Anyway,
I call it Twitter. Yeah.
In personal conversation, eager to own the label Christian nationalist in many places, argue strenuously for it. For my part, while I never liked the term, I was and still am in favor of certain principles that some may call Christian nationalism. In April 2022, I wrote another article on Christian nationalism, this time commending what Presbyterian pastor and Princeton Seminary professor Samuel Miller, 1769 to 1850, called enlightened patriotism. Miller had no patience for newer voices of infidel fanaticism that wanted to reject the religion of Christ and throw off the restraints of a religious and moral code. Miller insisted that without sound doctrine, Americans could not truly be moral, and without morality, they would be miserable. The duty of Christians, therefore, was to labor unceasingly to impart sound doctrine to all classes of people for the sake of our beloved country. These two paragraphs go to the heart of what I was arguing in 2022 and still believe today. Importantly, Miller's enlightened patriotism did not entail a state church like Anglicanism in Virginia or a Presbyterian establishment like the Scottish Kirk. Every, quote, species of alliance between church and state is forbidden. It can never fail to become a curse to both. Miller did not want an officially Christian nation, but he did hope for a nation that was demonstrably Christian. In fact, and that was just funny because that's basically what I want, right? That's what we all want. In fact, he believes sound doctrine was the best medicine for the health of the republic. You cannot take a more direct and certain course to render the insidious demagogue despised and deprive the profligate votary of ambition of all his influence, to inspire a love of liberty and to promote the prevalence of the purest patriotism. End quote. Miller's prescription for America would not have been controversial in Albany, where he preached this message, in the Presbyterian Church, or in almost anywhere in early 19th century America. Miller's evangelical audience was not hoping for a reunion of church and state. At the same time, neither was his audience nervous about a full-throated appreciation for the inestimable blessings of American self-government and constitutional liberties. Miller's Christian nationalism, to use the contested term, was not a political platform as much it was the widely shared assumption that, one, Christians had good reason to be thankful for America. Two, Christianity had been instrumental in the founding of America. And three, Christianity had a role to play in the preserving and passing on the privileges that belonged to free Americans. Right. So far, I don't find anything to disagree with at all. Right. That's always like the confusion too. And it's usually like willfully confused by people that like this is some kind of political platform, or we're going to try to create a political party or something like that. And no, not the least. Many people, when they hear Christian nationalism, think of the sort of things Samuel Miller took for granted. Many of our founders were sincere Christians. America was founded on many Christian principles, and the health of America depends on upon the virtue that comes from Christianity. I say amen to all of this. America should be a secular nation, should not be a secular nation with religion hidden away in the privacy of people's homes and churches. I hope Christianity continues to have a prominent place in the public square, even a privileged place, as it has for the most of the last 250 years. As Christians, we should not approach cultural engagement as an effort to negotiate favorable terms for our own surrender. We ought to argue for prudential policies and good laws that flow out of the best Christian political thought. Celebrating our Christian heritage, promoting Christian ideas in the public square, and having elected officials who are committed to historic Christianity and eager to see Christian churches protected and flourish, if that's Christian nationalism, most evangelicals in this country would be for it. And so would I. I disagree with that statement.
That most would be okay with it?
Well, I disagree. It depends. Evangelical clergy, absolutely not. Or leaders, institutional leaders, so on and so forth. They love secularism. They love it.
Yeah, I mean,
he is
promoting Christian ideas in the public square. Nope. No. Having elected officials who are committed to historic Christianity, as long as historic Christianity means that you're dedicated to secularism.
Yeah, means you're using Bible verses to support gay race
eager communism. To see Christian churches protected. I mean, that's a politically protected. No way. People would not be okay with that at all.
No. So now lay people, because like the lay people vote for Trump. Right. So the next section, why I am not a Christian, or why not Christian nationalism. Gary, we need you.
What do we?
We lost Gary. Well, we're gonna lose the camera, and it's gonna die on us in a second.
Oh
no! My watch is gonna call Gary. It almost read off his phone number. And yet, DeYoung says, I am not a Christian nationalist. When asked why, I usually rattle off 4 points. 1, there is still no shared understanding of what the term means. Many proponents equate Christian nationalism with support for some kind of church establishment and for the use of the state's coercive power in matters of religion. I'm opposed to both of those things. What do you think about that? You have thoughts?
Yeah. Sorry. Yes, I actually, well, most proponents equate. Well, here's actually the funny thing.
It happened.
Uh-oh.
You keep talking.
All right. Here's the funny thing. I don't think proponents equate Christian nationalism with church establishment. I think its opponents accuse us of doing so.
That's right.
That's the irony here.
Yeah.
I don't know any Christian nationalists, so-called, that say, well, some would allow for it given situations.
They would say that it's not sinful to have an established church, or there's nothing in principle. There's not like a universal standard that says you can't have an established church.
But we don't equate Christian nationalism with the establishment of that.
Yeah. That is an accurate way to put it. Like, I don't freak out at the idea that Scotland had the Kirk, or various principalities in Germany had Lutheran churches, Reformed churches,
and that plays into a theme that we'll probably touch on later. That's particularism. So many of the best Christian nationalists, like myself and Stephen Wolfe, they're proponents of particularity.
Yes,
so they would allow that variance that was present at the founding, and we're going to talk about that when we get to the First Amendment. But there's no one size fits all situation.
No,
it allows for a plurality of different dynamics within the needs of the civil order,
and the question of the state's coercive power in matters of religion. Right? Does that mean forcing people to convert at gunpoint? Well, no, we don't believe that.
Nobody has ever said that.
Nobody does. Steve's accused of that, and nowhere does he say that.
No.
Anyway, so no, but getting rid of the trans flag sidewalks or having them on public buildings, right? Why do they need to go down? Right now, you could scaffold a whole bunch of elaborate arguments of why this is wrong, under the prevailing order, but they're bad, and evil, and need to go, right? Because I'm a Christian, and God hates those things. They need to go, right? That's why.
Yep.
Right. That's why. And so, would that be the state's coercive power in matters of religion? Yes, it would. Right? No, we don't have to be no, well, you see, the Constitution says this thing and the other. You don't need to do that. You can just say these are wrong. They need to go. Right? This religion is evil, and I don't want it celebrated publicly.
Yeah.
Right? That's the reality. Right? So, we're Sabbath laws, right? Restricting business on the Sabbath, which was the case in America, really, especially here in the South. Everywhere until the middle of the 20th century.
And Puritan New England.
And in Puritan New England, everywhere. There's more, time on American soil where there's Sabbath laws restricting commerce on the Sabbath on Sundays than otherwise.
Yeah.
Is that using the state's power in matters of religion? Yes.
Yes,
it is. Of course it is. Obviously is.
Yeah. And so the question is why are you
opposed to those things, Kevin Young?
Well, why is it suddenly why is it completely impermissible? That's one of the things that, have you seen my list of I think I wrote it a year ago now, why I don't call myself a Christian nationalist?
Yes.
And one of the reasons is I was afraid when I wrote this, I was afraid that people would assume I was pushing some new paradigm in America. That was one of my biggest fears. But I agree with the original founding. I agree with the laws that were there at the time of the 18th century. Yeah. And some of them were these laws. Yeah. So it's really well rooted in our own history. It's not something new. It's not. Stephen Wolfe didn't just come up with all this.
Yeah, this is an alien thing that he's trying to import to America.
Exactly.
This is America's heritage and tradition and history.
Right.
It always was until the middle of the 20th century, right? Which Kevin Young clearly really loves, and he doesn't even see it.
He doesn't even know it. Yeah.
He has no idea, right? He has no idea of a world that existed before he was born, or generation upon generation that was taken from us in the middle of the 20th century. So, right. So I don't think that's a good argument, Mr. DeYoung. Too. The most prominent book making the case for Christian nationalism though not without some merits. Oh, isn't that nice? Has many serious problems. And he links to his review of it, including a blurring of nation and ethnicity. You want to comment on that blurring of nation and ethnicity?
Nation is ethnicity. In fact,
the word ethnos means nation.
He's imposing propositional nationhood onto his critique.
I know. Like, buddy, the very word ethnos means nation, right? It just does, right? You can't get around it. That's how all of humanity understood everything until middle of the 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
Blurring of nation. Now, if he said country and ethnicity,
well, he's a
propositionalist,
propositionalist,
but he views America as a proposition nation.
Yeah.
So the Somalis who took the citizenship oath, 2 days ago, they're just as much Americans as you, despite all of the fraud and everything else. Like, no reasonable person believes that at all. Anyway, I blurred. So Stephen is very bad for blurring nation ethnicity. A decentering of the importance of the church. Well, an importance of the church to what?
A decentering of the importance of the church. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what he's trying to get across. Decentering. It means that he's
a long time since I read his reviews. So I think, and I could be wrong. So, people can correct me. You can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. But I think what he means is that because power creates culture and culture enforces the mores of society and everything else, that the church's role in people's salvation becomes less important. I think that's his critique. Where it's like if you have enforced Christian cultural mores, right, that's good for people. And that is a means of, leading them to the Lord.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's what he's getting at. Right. Basically, Stephen's argument for cultural Christianity is decentering the importance of the church. I think. People can call me wrong, and I could be. A call for a Christian prince to suppress the enemies of God and to install a measured theocratic Caesarism. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, the funniest thing is Stephen's example of a Christian prince is George Washington.
Yes.
So, when people accuse him of this, they're conjuring up like Hitler or Franco or something.
Yeah.
But a Christian prince just means someone who recognizes the difficult position we're in and employs the God-ordained mechanism of power to do something for his nation.
Yes. And
part of our national heritage is Christianity. And so he should be you can't have an American prince unless it's a Christian prince.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that we want to bring back royalty or something like that. That's what they're picturing.
No, I mean,
so again, he you're not understanding. And the other thing is the reason that Stephen uses this phrase is because Reformed political theory actually uses that phrase everywhere. So all he's trying to do is he's trying to learn from our own heritage to make his argument. It's not like he's saying we're going to get away from the republic
and we're going to have a monarchy.
Yeah.
It's just a phrase
goofy.
It's from, Althusius and other thinkers from the time of the Reformation. It's not an argument for monarchy. And he makes that clear, very, very clear. But people don't want to understand that. And this is the best part, a final section that rails against everything from living under a gynocracy to the presence of overweight PCA pastors who presumably have low testosterone. Well, here's the thing, right? If you are fat, you have low testosterone. Right? I'm trying to get my T levels up because I'm losing some weight. Right? I'm down 9. I'm down 9.5. How many pounds are you down?
Like 2,
almost 2. So, I'm winning.
You are winning.
I've got maybe not by volume or maybe not by per capita.
You're winning. Yeah.
But I'm winning right now. Let's see who wins. But anyway, like if you are overweight, you have low test. By definition, you have low testosterone. And I was at PCA General Assembly, and I'm a big guy, but I was a medium-sized guy there. If you catch my drift, a lot of big boys, and it wasn't lean body mass.
I don't understand the opposition to this.
Like, why are you angry about that? Like the unhinged final section.
It is funny. Like I grew up. So the first couple of years of my life, I went to public school, and they were doing like the JFK.
Yeah, we did
like,
that too,
like physical fitness tests. That used to be considered like a really good thing. It's, you want your people to be healthy.
Yeah.
But now it's like problematic, and I don't really understand where that's coming from. Maybe gynocratic thinking.
Gynocracy, egalitarianism. We shouldn't judge anybody.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, like the reason I put on weight is because I've eaten too much food and haven't had the self-discipline to not, like it's a personal failing.
Yeah.
But it is. And everyone's like, oh, no, it's a metabolism issue. It's just now. It's like, no, those are all excuses.
Yeah. I can be honest. It's a discipline issue.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, time to crack down, baby. Let's go. And so like, it's, I mean, the reason why DeYoung is upset with it is because he outlines, like, it's kind of, he just riffs on some things at the end that are problems today. And it seems, and it's not an academic section, right? It's him just doing stream of consciousness. All this stuff is terrible, but it accurately describes the world that we live in today.
Yeah.
Like it does. And like, do we live in a gynocracy? Absolutely we do. Are you kidding me? Like, how can you not see that? Like, Kevin DeYoung, preach a Mother's Day sermon on women's sin and see if you live in a gynocracy. Right. Has Kevin DeYoung ever preached on female sin? Chat, let us know. 3, nationalism. And this is maybe his most valid point, but I don't know. I'll see what you think about it. Nationalism refers to a set of political and ethical commitments that arose at the end of the 18th century and was then shaped throughout the 19th century by Romanticism and the Industrial Revolution. Championing Christian nationalism is not the same as recognizing that for most of American history, many Americans would have thought of their country as a Christian nation. Paul Marshall helpfully distinguishes between religious nationalism and religion-infused politics. Religious nationalism refers to a movement or ideology, quote, promoting the interests of a particular nation, a group of people who believe they have a shared historical, cultural, lingual, and religious heritage, and commonly wish to have a state that expresses that heritage. This is not the same as asserting that religion has been significant. Well, hold up. Right? Aren't those things, like, isn't this true though? Right? That's America, a particular nation, a group of people that have a shared historical, cultural, lingual, and religious heritage.
Yes.
And commonly wish to have a state that expresses that heritage.
Yes.
Is there something wrong with that? This is not the same.
That just sounds like nationalism.
Yeah. This is not the same as asserting that religion has been a significant shaping force in a country's history, nor is it the same as arguing for key political principles on religious grounds. Religious nationalism, by contrast, usually calls for the state to protect religious interests of one group while marginalizing, suppressing other groups in so doing. Marshall explains it treats the members of the dominant religion and language, ethnicity, and culture as core citizens and others as second class. Right? I mean, this actually kind of gets to the issues. Why? And this is something that smart people, really smart people that I've talked to that don't agree with me, but are nevertheless really bright and worth arguing with and on it, like guys like Kevin DeYoung. And they're like, well, nationalism is this 19th century, this very particular 19th century ideology. Right? Is that what you mean by this? And it's like, well, here's the issue. Until what replaced nationalism?
What replaced it?
As far as a political, a political movement that arose in the West in the throughout the 19th century.
I mean, two things did.
Well, you had an intermediate period where
communism was
globalist ideologies, communism
and liberal democracy.
Communism and liberal democracy, two globalist ideologies. And then right, the reaction to communism and liberal democracy
was
right, which was
nationalism,
which was destroyed
Mhm.
in the middle of the 20th century.
Well, what he's describing is
like globalism is replaced, whether it's communist globalism or liberal democratic globalism.
well, there
has
was a
replaced
there was a
nationalism.
sort of pan-Europeanism or Christendom that was like
It's just-
supranationalism,
Yeah.
right? That's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Is before the French Revolution, there wasn't really a nationalism because it was all Christendom.
That's right.
But within our context, since Christendom has fallen down, nationalism is a necessary response that we can use to protect ourselves.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
it's not some like ideal that we're putting up. I was fine with historic Christendom too.
Yeah. I would like to go back to that if you could, but nevertheless, the point still remains, right? That nationalism was replaced by globalist ideologies, and that's the soup that we swim in today.
Mhm.
And he's not willing to recognize that, I don't think. And so
Well, let's respond to his.
modern nationalism is the response to globalism, right? And it's very different than the responses to communism in the 20th century.
I think that this distinction is kind of overwrought.
Yeah.
I think it's really the same because like if you're like, for instance, if you're going to stop Somalians from coming into America, like by definition, you're protecting the interests of one group and marginalizing other groups. What group are you marginalizing? You're marginalizing illegal immigrants. Yes. Like that's part of national action. That's part of what it means to have a nation. That's what a border is. That's where the libertarians always spurg out about like, oh, the border's just an arbitrary line and you're marginalizing.
Yeah.
Yes.
We want the free exchange of goods and services and people.
But this is like Ron Paul.
No.
Like Ron Paul was actually completely correct on this. He's like, if you don't have borders, you actually just don't even have a nation.
Yeah.
And so the very act of arguing and identifying a country or a nation or a people is marginalizing other groups. Now, are they suppressed? Well, they could be if they try to threaten the integrity of that people.
If you steal
It doesn't mean
billions of dollars.
It doesn't mean we're going around looking for people to suppress.
Yeah, exactly.
It just means that when it becomes a threat to that people's heritage and their way of life, then it needs to be dealt with politically, collectively, corporately.
It's not like Donald Trump just wants to like blow up, speedboats in the Caribbean just for fun.
Mm-mm.
Right? It's like, no, this is a threat to our country.
He's suppressing drug cartels.
That's right, baby. 4. This is his fourth reason. Increasingly, the loudest voices arguing for Christian nationalism are marked by juvenile insults, right? Like driving by Tim Walz's house and using, I don't know if we can say it on YouTube, the R word.
R word.
Marked by juvenile insults steeped in online jargon from the dissident right. What's more, some of these proponents traffic openly in racist ideology, anti-Semitism, and neo-Nazi sympathies. The most strident Christian nationalism proponents on social media are often a potent combination of oafery and demagoguery. You calling me an oaf?
No. He's talking about the Anons.
Nope. In short, I don't believe the term Christian nationalism is necessary, helpful, or wise. There are better ways, more precise and more accurate to describe what serious Christian political thought might espouse and what robust Christian engagement in the political sphere might look like. Well, we like our way of doing it better than your way of not doing it.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, you're not going to undermine a very powerful secularist left-wing regime by not being provocative.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he called his book, I remember when he was thinking about the name of this book when he was writing it, and he's like, I could get bogged down about coming up with like a really precise, like Tweed approved name.
That's right.
But it's not going to change anything.
No one will read it.
No.
And people have read it. People have read it now.
People have read it.
Not well, but they've read it.
Yeah. And so like, look, like revolution and counter-revolution are always messy.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have people who have been dispossessed of their nation, who have been called all sorts of names that have been undermined by the regime itself. And you can't expect these people to counter the regime by acting like intellectuals.
Yes.
It's like, I mean, the Martin Luther, like the Lutheran situation.
Yeah.
Right. In the 1500s.
Yeah. Not today, but then. Yeah.
Both.
Yeah, both. Yeah.
But it's like, I mean, even in revolutionary America, I mean, the British were really talking down against, like anybody who's aligned with American Revolution are just looking past these scoundrels that are basically have no self-dignity or no self-worth. They're just kind of like, like scummy people. And like, that's what you're going to deal with. Any people that's oppressed.
Dressing up like Indians and dumping out tea and hooting and hollering is the 18th century equivalent of trolling someone online.
Yes.
Right. That's what it was. Right. The pamphlets that were written.
Yes.
Right. I mean, if you want to talk about like juvenile
trolling is the language of the unheard.
Like juvenile insults. Right. Have you read any of the things in like the election of 1800 that were said about, that the people supporting Adams said about Jefferson and Jefferson about like and like on into like every election after that. Like it was nasty. It was really nasty. Yeah. And so like this is how politics works. And especially like you said, maybe the chief characteristic of the regime is how seriously it takes itself. Right? How stilted and stuffy and self-important it is. And the thing it cannot handle is mockery. Right? It cannot handle mockery at all because they are the important, dignified people. Right? This is the same as like Trump, right? Why Trump is important and why he just popped all of that like a balloon, pierced through it, is because all of the very dignified Jeb Bush up there, very dignified and important, and he just mocks him to his face in the debates. And and all of them, Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, all of them, mocks them, makes fun of them, right? Shows that it's always been a clown show. And the veneer of respectability, it's stripped away and everyone can peer inside and see how disgusting it is, right? Is a good thing. And so people trolling, people saying intentionally transgressive things. Now, I don't think, right? Like there's things you can't say as a Christian, right? I don't say them. Right? I think you shouldn't say them. But, right? Are people going to do this? Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? Because that is what that is the natural immune response.
Saying that you're not going to label yourself that because of those people is kind of cowardly. Yeah. In fact, in all the things that I've said about not labeling myself that's never been one of them. I'm
afraid to be associated with the bad people.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's like, okay, the thing that you're associated with, whether you are willing to admit it or not, is globalist liberal democracy that is transing kids, that is putting gay stuff on kids shows on Netflix, and just degeneracy everywhere. Right. By not opposed, and you'll say, "Oh, I'm opposed to those things. I'm against all that stuff." But we're talking about the system that you are upholding, right? Globalism, that's what it is. That's what it pushes. It pushes for the deracination of everyone, the destruction of their history, their heritage, their distinctiveness, right? You are on the side of that, Kevin DeYoung. And so you have made your bed with those people, right? Unless you're willing to say, yeah, I'll be a nationalist.
I think they're just cowardly to call themselves nationalists.
He's afraid because it's like, oh, we're gonna then the people that they're gonna think I like Nick Fuentes or something. It's like nobody's gonna think that.
Trust me, no
one is gonna think that. So here we are, almost 40 minutes in. Finally, we get to the 6 questions. So having explained why I agree with some of the convictions that could be labeled Christian nationalism and yet why I don't embrace the term, let me lay out several pertinent questions. These questions can be read as implicit statements, since it will be clear in explaining each question what I believe. But I also hope that they will be read as genuine questions. And that is how we will read them. We will read them as genuine questions. I think they are genuine questions, honestly. There are varieties of Christian nationalism, and it's not always clear whether the various proponents agree on the particularities of their theology or their political prescriptions. I do not believe that everyone associated with the label Christian nationalism who appreciates some of its emphases holds to everything I will speak in these 6 questions. If I discover that some self-styled Christian nationalists believe close to the same things I believe, I'll be grateful for that clarity. It may be the case that many people in the pews think they like Christian nationalism, but haven't really thought through the ramifications of the most popular rhetoric. Here, then, are 6 questions for Christian nationalists and for those drawn to their vision of a more aggressively Christian magistrate and a vision for church-state relations that moves beyond the classic liberalism of the last 250 years. Press X to doubt, right? The liberal, not the classic, the liberalism of the last 50 years is more accurate. Question number 1. Do you unequivocally renounce anti-Semitism, racism, and Nazism? And I'll read what he says before we answer his question. Right? This is what he says. That is to say, do you hold any of the following? 1, a disdain for Jewish people and a belief that a secret cabal of Jews are responsible for a litany of evils in our world. 2, a disdain for non-whites and a belief in the mental and spiritual inferiority of blacks. And 3, an appreciation for Adolf Hitler and a belief that Nazis were the misunderstood good guys of World War II. I know I haven't provided technical definitions for these isms or sought to substantiate my insinuation that all 3 are sinful and abhorrent, but that's the point. Most people don't need a lot of nuance to condemn anti-Semitism, racism, and Nazism. I commend Christian nationalists like Doug Wilson, who have called out these destructive sympathies on the right. It should be a simple thing to reject these ideologies and make it clear that they have no place in conservatism, in Christianity, or in Christian nationalism. Right. So, right, what do you think about question number 1?
I don't unequivocally renounce these things because of the way that they're used. Donald Trump is considered an anti-Semite, a racist, and a Nazi.
Yeah.
So I don't get down into the weeds of playing those games. On a more serious note,
right, you can even see how I label it on the screen here. Do you unequivocally or denounce or renounce these left-wing slurs?
Yeah.
Right. That's what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like Charlie Kirk was killed 3 months ago now.
Yeah, and everyone calls him a Nazi.
One of the bullets was, "Hey, fascist, catch."
Mm-hmm.
Right. They called him a Nazi. Right. Yeah. Kevin DeYoung, if you went to like a college campus, right, where's he in Charlotte? Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you went to the University of North Carolina today and just sat down and talked to, obese girls with purple hair,
gave your opinion on gay marriage,
gave your straightforward opinion
abortion,
on every political issue that you believe, they would call you a Nazi.
Right.
Right. If you gave your opinion on race, all right, they would call you a Nazi or a racist. Right. If you gave your opinion on Judaism as a religion, they would call you an anti-Semite. Right. If you gave your honest opinion about it, right, you would be called all of those things.
Yeah.
Right. You would. Right. But getting into the details of the question, right, the reason why this is his first question, right, the reason why this is the number 1 issue is because our entire post-war order of globalism, of global liberal democracy, is built on mythology. Right? It's built on the mythos that we fought the great and noble, glorious crusade. We are on the side of the angels, and our enemy was on the side of the devil, and that we were the unequivocal good guys. They're the unequivocal bad guys. And therefore, our entire public moral framework is whatever anything those guys did that we fought in this war, anything even remotely like what they stood for, we will do the opposite of. That is evil, and we'll do the opposite of it. Right. So, they believed in having nations. Sorry, can't have nations anymore. Right. Like that's that, and that is collapsing. That is falling apart.
Right.
That mythos is falling apart. And I view my view on these things, right, to answer, to begin to answer his question is is that like, no, I don't have an admiration for Adolf Hitler, or view the Nazis as the misunderstood good guys in World War II, right? And some of this is like Daryl on Tucker talking about Churchill and things like that.
But he didn't say Hitler was a good guy.
Never said that.
No, he didn't say that.
Never said that. What he did say is that this is not. Yeah, you better plug in so you don't lose any power. What he did say is that history isn't a marvel. Oh, we lost the camera. What's
that for me? No,
I think it was.
So
you messed us up. Yeah, be careful next time. History isn't a Marvel movie, right? It isn't the Avengers fighting Thanos, right? That's not history, right? History is way more gray than we want to believe that it is, right? Did Nazi Germany kill millions of people?
Yes.
Right. Millions of civilians, men, women, and children, intentionally murdering them.
Yes.
Yes, they did.
Did Britain
do that? Did the United States do that?
Yeah.
Did our ally, the Soviet Union, kill tens of millions of people? Did Joseph Stalin do that? Tens of millions. He starved like 4 or 5 million people in Ukraine 10 years before the war, right? Starved them to death. I mean, like he turned all of Ukraine into an open air Auschwitz.
So do you
That's what he did.
do you unequivocally renounce the Allies?
Yeah, like exactly. Right.
No.
Do you unequivocally renounce
too complicated?
Renounce the United States?
Yeah.
And Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Harry Truman for firebombing Dresden and Tokyo and dropping nuclear bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
No. I don't. Were those stupid things? Yes.
Were they evil?
Yes.
Yeah.
But but playing those cheap parlor tricks is not a serious debate.
No, it doesn't treat history as a serious subject. It treats it as a morality play, right? It turns it into something cheap, and it actually cheapens the what actually happened to millions of people in this great cataclysm in history, and make us to misunderstand why it happened. So like that's it.
Yeah.
And so that framework is breaking down. People are beginning to see that, it wasn't this black and white thing. It was much more gray. And the temptation is that then people will say, because we've lied about it for 50, 60 years, we've made it a Marvel movie, right? Then they say, well, the bad guys must be good.
Did you ever read that book by something Saunders on the CIA in Hollywood or whatever? He basically talks about how like Marvel was like their attempt to get people to think in black and white terms about geopolitics. And that was the point of like Captain America and all of these heroes, is like you could look at history, you could say this guy is a spawn of the devil and this guy is the antithesis. And you could treat the world like a third grader.
The good guys and the bad.
And that was and like our perception of geopolitics actually was formed by Hollywood doing that to us.
That's right. Yeah. We can't just see that like
this. But like if you take a historic realist like George Kennan, like he would never like get bogged down in this guy was evil, this guy was good. Like that's like our regime actually is so weak and pathetic because it looks at the world like that.
It conducts things that way. Yeah,
it really does.
It's always who's the Hitler? Who's the Hitler now? Right? Oh, Vladimir Putin is the Hitler. Now, I can't really figure out the Israel-Gaza conflict because like one side says that side's the Hitler and the other side says that's the Hitler. So I don't really know. Like, is Hamas the Hitler? Is Netanyahu the Hitler? I don't really know. I can't figure it out.
Depends on who writes a bigger check.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's so simplistic and childish, and it's like no one looks at an event like, like, well, they kind of do. Right, the Napoleonic Wars. Right, he's the Hitler of the 19th century. So maybe you have to go back even further. Right, they're always assessing things as who is the Hitler, who is the proto-Hitler before that. Yeah. Right. Then you don't look at like the conquests of Genghis Khan. Right, who like killed a lot of people. Right, we don't look at this in that way at all. Like we look at it as history. Right. And so anyway, like it becomes really becomes really interesting in a different way. And so, like I was saying, like what happens when people awaken to the idea that, it isn't a Marvel movie, it isn't, we're the good guys, they're the bad guys. It's that this is an event that happened. Our country was at war, and we fought and won that war, and it established the global liberal order we have today. We split up the entire world between us and the Soviet Union, and that's just what happened, right? That's history. And what the temptation for people is then just say, when you're like remember the first time you thought Lee Harvey Oswald might not have acted alone. You kind of become obsessed with it, and it's like, oh man, was it the mob? Was it the CIA? Was it the Russians? Who was doing? Like, you become obsessed with it, and it's like this changes the entire world. And well, like eventually you mature and you grow up, and you're like, well, whatever happened, it's not really that.
He didn't happen alone. He didn't do it alone.
No, I don't think.
And
so.
neither did the pipe bomb guy.
No. I mean, no way.
Anyways,
but anyway, like but you get obsessed with this, and the danger is that then you adopt, right? You do the same thing that we do, right? Or our system has done, the globalist system done, which is, whatever they did, anything that they did, we have to do the opposite, because our entire morality is based around this guy in history.
Yeah.
Right. Do the opposite of him. Right. You just do the same thing that they did, only the other direction. Whatever he did was good, therefore we should do it. Like this is what happens when significant people with moral authority, like Kevin DeYoung, are unwilling to engage in serious thinking about history. Right. They just glom on to the post-war consensus view of the Second World War that was manufactured for us as a Marvel movie. And then you provide all these young men without any mature, reasonable, stable guidance. And so what do? They go online and they'll watch whatever crazy thing and form, their morality based around Adolf Hitler. Right? That's what they do. And it's like, what if we had a public morality that pre-existed all of that?
Yeah.
That we didn't even have to think about the Second World War at all. Right? What would that be like? Right? And it's like, well, that's what I believe.
Yeah.
That's what you believe. Right? I'm not basing it in either direction on what happened in the middle of the 20th century.
Right.
Right. And that, I think, is the way forward. That is the only way forward. Is to just say, yes, that was an historical event that had tremendous significance. It was very important. Great evils took place, for sure. But it is not the basis of right and wrong, or the basis of how we should proceed forward as a nation. In either direction. Right? Like is that so hard to do? And apparently, yes, it is.
Of course,
it's extremely hard to do, because it really is the foundation of like they believe it. They believe.
Well, myths
are
powerful.
Yeah.
And they're not even I'm not even critiquing the use of myths.
No,
I support the use of myths. Anyway, so we'll go to question 2.
The Iliad, right? Everyone's got their myths. So anyway, right? That's why. And it's going to until you adopt the view we have. It's going to continue to get worse, right? You can play by the left's rules of renounce and denounce and denounce and denounce, and pretend that you can keep Humpty Dumpty back together, right? But he's fallen broken, and all of the young people, they're going to go listen to somebody else.
Yeah,
both left and right, are going to go listen to anybody else who is willing, right, and not in a reasonable, mature, rational, responsible way, but will still say the truth about things. Right? They will listen to other people and not you. Right? That's what has happened, and it will continue happening. So, question number.
I'll read number 2 so I don't fall asleep.
You're going to fall asleep. You're going to take a nap.
All right. When and how does the nation act as a corporate moral person? Recently, Doug Wilson offered a defense and explanation of Christian nationalism. The occasion for the post was the podcast conversation, mainly about Calvinism, but a little about Christian nationalism, that I had with Hillsdale President Larry Arnn. I thought Wilson's explanation was a friendly, good faith effort to bring light instead of heat to a contested topic. In the post, Wilson details two ideas, noting that almost all believing Christians accept both premises. First, Wilson says all Christians agree that true morality is grounded in the nature and character of the living God. Non-believers can still behave decently, Wilson argues, but they are unable to give a coherent account of why they are obligated to behave in such ways. Absolute moral claims have a transcendental grounding. I agree. The second point we supposedly all agree on is where things get more complicated. Quote, all nations, states, or tribes are moral agents. They make decisions and take actions that are either righteous or they are not. Unquote. That was Doug's quote. You can see where the logic is heading. Every nation is going to have some religion, and if a nation is going to have a religion, it must have the true religion, and that means biblical Christianity. Every nation, like every individual, is going to be pleasing to God or displeasing to God. So Christians must insist that their nation be a Christian nation.
So far, so good.
Well, yeah, that's Doug's.
I know
Doug's
it's
view.
Doug's. Yeah.
I agree with it, by the way. So, okay, keep going. This sounds plausible, but the theological assumptions and political implications in this argument get murky very quickly. Let's start with theology. By the way, I think Doug's view there was basically not controversial until individualism kind of permeated into the American mind, but we'll get to that. Let's start with theology. While the Bible teaches that nations can be judged for their wickedness, this is not the same as saying that the nation as a nation is a corporate moral person. Robert Dabney, for example, argued that although a nation is bound to obey and worship the true God, it's funny that he's using Dabney. This obligation is nothing else but the individual obligation of all the members, and nothing more is needed to defend or sanction it than their individual morality and religiousness. In other words, an association of persons fulfills its religious and moral obligations through the individual members of that association, not as a corporate moral person. By Dabney's logic, the way to make a Christian nation is to make the people in the nation Christians.
Let's stop for 1 second. I thought R.L. Dabney was absolutely verboten. You're not allowed to quote him.
Do you unequivocally renounce Southern theologians?
Yeah, you're not allowed to quote. Didn't like Zach Garris get in trouble for quoting Dabney?
Yeah,
in his presbytery. I guess if they're Kevin DeYoung, they let you do it.
It's good that he's quoting Dabney.
Oh no, of course it is. Of course it is. But it's comical to me that he can employ Dabney in this way for this reason, but nothing else. You can't read anything else he said except when it's useful for his arguments.
Yeah.
So anyway, you could continue. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, the political implication of the moral agent argument are even more dicey. Consider these lines from Wilson's article. Wilson says, so my version of Christian nationalism is simply this. America needs to stop making God mad. Abortion makes him angry. Sodomy makes him angry. Mammon worship makes him angry. Pornography makes him angry. And the only way to avert the judgments of his anger is by repenting of our sin and turning back to Christ. Unquote. Kevin DeYoung says, I agree with all that Wilson is saying here, but I am not sure I agree with the unstated implication about what this means for the legitimacy of Christian nationalism. I too want America to stop making God mad. It's worth pointing out, as an aside, that the moral agency argument tends to only highlight ways that nations are wicked rather than ever concluding, say, that America has more evangelical Christians than any other country, and this makes God happy. I love what Wilson says about repenting of our sin and turning back to Christ.
What are those evangelical Christians doing? Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, it's good. But this seems to equate moral agency with Dabney's insistence that individuals fulfill the nation's obligations, not nations as such. While nations can outlaw abortion, sodomy, and pornography, no nation can effectively outlaw mammon worship.
I don't know about that.
That's long. I hope someone clips that.
I don't know about that, man.
Go clip that and send that to me.
I don't know about that.
I need a 45-second.
Could you maybe, I don't
Source?
know, have sound money? Would that be a way to do it? Would you maybe not have 50-year mortgages? Would that be a way to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Would you maybe, I don't know, not have Calshi, like putting the Calshi people in prison right? For being able to bet on literally everything, right? Could a nation do that? I think so, right? Could you use laws to make mammon worship, right? To not you again, like what he's getting at is like it's an eternal heart thing, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Right.
that's what we're about to talk about.
But it's like
it's the individualism.
Abortion is an eternal heart thing, right? I want this baby dead so that I can live my best life now, right? So you're never going to eradicate that, but you can eradicate the act of what that is, right? And so I mean, it's comical. Like you look at Israel's financial sins that the prophets decry. I mean, and leftoids love to do this, right? God says a lot about financial sins, economic sins, but he only whispers about sexual sins, right? Like they love that. They love that stuff. But at the same time, it's true. It's in the Bible.
Yeah.
Right. You can't get over that. Right. What's Israel supposed to do? How do they repent of these things? Is it individuals just changing their hearts? Or do they maybe stop allowing, banks to print out 100 times the amount of money they have in stock?
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, the first answer to his question, when and how does the nation act as a corporate moral person? It does so in its laws.
Yes.
That's where it acts as a corporate and moral person.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I interrupted.
Did I finish?
No, you didn't. I messed up everything. I'm sorry.
So I'm not. Yeah. So, but if that is so, then we have established that nations do not have to, and indeed should not try to, outlaw everything that makes God angry. It seems like this is one of those things. Like if you can't outlaw anything or everything, then you can't outlaw anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is like the pro-abortion argument. Where, well, but they've been doing it for thousands of years, and so you're never going to eradicate it. You're never going to eradicate prostitution. You're never going to eradicate drug use. You're never going to eradicate the.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, I guess we should just let everybody do whatever they want anytime.
Well, they're bringing you this case where like the mother is in this really precarious like health situation, and the baby, and they have to make a decision. And if you decide one way on that, that applies to all abortion totally. Like they bring in 0.5% of the abortion situations.
They love to make rules based on the exceptions.
Not even the very rare exceptions.
Yeah, like infinitesimally rare.
So it seems to me, I'm not sure Wilson would agree, that nations can be called to account before God without insisting that the governments of those nations make declaratory statements about Christian doctrine or suppress non-Christian forms of religious expression. I think, the problem here is just his individualism that like all throughout the Bible, God is judging nations for acting corporately in ways that dishonor him.
Yeah.
And like we talked about law is one of the ways that nations can act corporately. Another way is just through representation. Yeah. When you have an evil king, the nation is punished.
Yeah.
When nations were punished in the Old Testament because of an evil king, it doesn't mean every single individual was sinful. In fact, there were probably some faithful ones that got caught up in the mix. But
absolutely,
God treats nations as nations, and he treats individuals as individuals.
Yes. And so should we. Yeah. The chief issue here is the individualism, and that was my initial thoughts.
And there was major like influence of individualism.
It's probably driving everybody nuts, by the way.
What?
Touching the mics.
Can people hear it?
I don't know. They'll let us know.
If they can't hear it, then leave me alone.
All right. Sorry. They're getting on me last time because the mic stands were garbage.
Oh.
Anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I think Dabney and some of the other American theologians were actually very individualistic, and I don't think that we should.
Dabney was kind of a lolbert.
In some ways, yeah.
He was. I mean, he was. And I went into the forbidden bookshelf and have read him.
Well, the funny thing is, I have his Defense of Virginia book, and he speaks in very clear corporate collective terms.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
So it's funny that there's a little contradiction between his systematic theology, which is quoted here in that book, which is you're not allowed to talk about. But I think the American theologians were actually very individualistic. That defined the American mind, I think, for a long time, and probably allowed us to get into this position.
I would
in many ways
definitely argue that. I mean, we want to get to the book at one point we'll do the book study on
America's
on
Baptist
individual.
cultures.
Yeah. So we will get that, but that's what he sounds like, right?
Yeah.
In terms of political order, he sounds like a Baptist,
Mhm.
right? And this is supposed to be this, very reformed guy, very Presbyterian guy. But that's what it is. Like individualism reigns,
Mhm.
right? There is no Manny, or there is no one. There's only the Manny, right? That's his viewpoint, and that's very. I mean, to be fair to him,
So he
it's a
says,
very American way of looking at it.
yeah, the sentence right here is, by Dabney's logic, the way to make a Christian nation is to make the people in the nation Christians. So like for him, for the individualist, the nation is the sum total of every individual.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the classical way of understanding a nation. A nation actually precedes individuals, and individuals are defined in light of the nation.
Yeah.
That's the Burkean traditional
Yes, it is.
European reformed view of a nation.
It
Is that, see, for them, the nation as a corporate body is derivative of the individual. But I think for the classical understanding, the individual is actually derivative of the nation. Yeah. And I think that's what's coming to head here.
I think so. Yeah. I know that, all of our Baptist friends are going to get angry at me for comparing Kevin DeYoung to them. I'm sorry. I take it back.
This is why, by the way, like just my own personal theology stuff, this is why I'm increasingly appreciating people like Lightheart, is their metaphysics basically is able to help you distill the problems in paragraphs like this.
But yeah, his metaphysics like gives you a sociological framework to like see this and just be like, what?
Yeah. So in order for a nation to be Christian, it doesn't require every individual to be a Christian.
No.
Just like we have Christian families, we have Christian schools, we have Christian governments and Christian NGOs and Christian nonprofits,
all sorts of things that are collectively.
It doesn't mean every single individual has been individually converted or whatever.
Yeah, or we can be certain that all of them very truly are Christians and persevere to the end. Like we can't know that. So yeah, that question, my answer to it is, I mean, like even I should look it up if he's ever preached on the book of Jonah, specifically Jonah chapter 3, right? Because what happens there? Jonah preaches, and it's an incredible evangelistic sermon. All he says is, 40 days, you're all going to die. That's all he says. Like, God is mad at you. You're going to get nuked.
Yeah.
40 days. And what happens? King of Nineveh hears it, and the entire city repents. And what does he do? He orders them to fast, right? Man and beast, and to put on sackcloth and ashes, right? Orders them. Uses coercive power of the state to fast, right? Not to eat. And what does God do? What is God's response to that?
He saves them.
He saves them. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. Right. What happens? You have corporate moral agency taking place.
God punished them because they didn't treat everyone as individuals.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The nation was sinful. Nineveh was sinful and evil and wicked. And God,
there's a lot to be said about
was punishing them as
the doctrine of representation. Like we talk about our representatives today, and we just kind of use that in a colloquial sense.
That's
like,
right.
they were, but actually, like classically, like the governor, the person that had that responsibility, he represented it in a much deeper metaphysical way. Like the future of the nation was on his shoulders.
That's right. Yeah.
And in him existed the faithfulness or the faithlessness of the entire people.
That's right.
On those who are in power. That's what representation actually means.
Yeah. Yeah. True. I don't think we actually do have Christian NGOs. Fair point. Fair point. So question 3. Question 3. Let me change the little doodad here. Okay. Question 3. What is the purpose of civil government? All right, this is what Mr. DeYoung says. Many advocates of Christian nationalism are champions of limited government. At the same time, they speak of, are you a champion of limited government?
Depends on the context.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Sometimes, like,
18th century.
I'll tell you what,
Sure.
my kids, when they're being bad, are champions of limited government. In the household.
When I'm dealing with communism, not really.
No, exactly. When I'm dealing with a morally upright people that are productive and high agency, very limited government. Right. I immediately turn into Murray Rothbard. Right. So anyway, at the same time, they speak of a government having authority to direct man to his highest and heavenly good. These two sets of convictions seem to be at odds. Right. Again, he's not recognizing particularism. Right. How much government do we need? Well, that's a question of how much do we need?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It just simply is. All right. These two. Is the purpose of the government to protect God-given rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? A Bible verse for those rights. Is government to be concerned with the whole perfection of man? Who is arguing for that? Is anybody who is arguing for the whole perfection of man?
It's very vague.
Yeah. Anyway, one does not have to be a hardcore libertarian to appreciate that the United States Constitution is amazingly brief and quite constrained in what it is trying to accomplish.
Because it was made for immoral people.
It was made for the people that existed in 1787. They don't exist anymore. According to the preamble, the people of the United States have come together as a political body with 5 goals in mind: establish peace, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare. Interesting. And secure the blessings of liberty. You left off the last part after blessings of liberty. For us and our posterity. Does that include Ilhan Omar? I don't know. America's constitutional order is not oriented to man's heavenly good. No, but was Virginia's, was Massachusetts's, was New Jersey's, right? Right. We're messing up some categories here, Mr. DeYoung. It is designed to keep people safe, peaceable, prosperous, and free. That's why I appreciate the candor of the Christian nationalists who admit that their program requires a near total scraping of our constitutional framework. Right? I don't think that
it doesn't.
I don't think that Stephen doesn't think that.
No,
I don't think that.
No, Stephen's book endorses the
think
constitutional framework.
Yeah, yeah. Who are you talking about here?
Joel Webbin.
Is it just Joel?
There's others that speak like that.
Yeah, people have accused us of this.
Yeah.
When what we say is, look, sometimes you got to be George Washington. Right. Everything he did was unconstitutional,
correct,
according to the British Constitution.
Yes.
Right. And these are the guys that created the Constitution.
Oh, it was totally illegal. Everything they did
was totally illegal. Right. And so the question is not, do we just throw away our whole constitutional order? No. Right. It gets back to the beginning part where it's like, well, how much government should we have?
Well, the thing is, the people who signed the Constitution, that signed onto it, they had theocracies in their state.
Yeah, they totally did.
Yeah,
right. And we'll get to this in the question about the First Amendment, but which they were desperate to preserve.
Right, which was the purpose of the First Amendment.
Yes. So anyway,
because they didn't want liberals in Virginia to encroach on their state-sponsored government.
I absolutely do not want to get rid of the United States Constitution. Right? No, like that is like the one thing, right? Whatever vestigial remnants of it that still exist, that is preventing. I mean, could you imagine if that was the idea, and everyone just accepted, like, what would there's no Constitution left, like what the Biden administration could have gotten away with, right? Even without the norms and things like that.
I think that they really like the Constitution because they can use it against us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They do. Yeah, no, I agree with you there. But what I'm saying is, if the people didn't have the common assumption together, right? The majority, like overwhelming majority of the people of the United States didn't have the assumption that, no, I have a right to my firearms. According to the Second Amendment, I have a right to say whatever I want to, right? Because of the First Amendment, right? I have a right to go to church, right? Even if the governor says I can't, because of the First Amendment, right? If those things didn't exist, we'd be in a much worse place.
Sure.
Right. That's like not the fact that they're written down on a piece of paper stored in the National Archives, but the fact that the people believe in them and hold to them. Right. Like I don't want that to be scrapped at all. Absolutely not.
Right.
What I do want is the people to be able to say, right, sometimes when things are so bad, you have to do George Washington type stuff and go outside the Constitution to deport 100 million people or whatever.
Yeah. Hypothetically.
Or hypothetically. Or, you know, bomb drug boats in
or even
that's not
even restrictions on like speech, because like the way they define speech includes, you know, the right to pornography.
Yeah.
So it's like, do I agree that we need to restrict, you know, the application of those? Yeah, absolutely, I do.
Yeah.
If that's anti-constitutional, so be it, I guess. But it's not.
I mean, some of it too is like getting to things like Marbury versus Madison, right? Or just you almost have to revert to much earlier periods in American history, but you're not throwing away the Constitution to do that, to say, you know, we're done with judicial review. Actually, right? We're not going to have Judge Boasberg boss us around anymore. We're going to do things. And if you don't like, this was the original order, is the Supreme Court didn't just get to say, boom, you don't get to do that. And, or else it was like, they don't have no armies. They have no power, right? It's the Congress that ultimately determines the constitutionality of things by impeaching the president if he acts in an unconstitutional way. Right. That's the power right there. And so anyway, all of this is to say, right, the very, very narrow, limited idea of what is constitutional and what isn't is the thing I would challenge, right? Which is not saying we need to get rid of our whole constitutional order and just throw it away, right? Just not have it, right? No, absolutely. I want to go back to it.
Yeah.
Right. And the question always is like, which Constitution?
Which Constitution?
Right? The Constitution of 1965 or the Constitution of like 1910 or whenever, right? Which Constitution do you want to get rid of? Right. I want to get rid of the Warren Court's Constitution. Absolutely. Right. So anyway, back to this article. Last year, I wrote an article detailing Robert Dabney's argument against church establishments. These two paragraphs about limited government summarize the point I'm trying to make. Dabney agrees with Gladstone's contention.
We lost the camera.
Oh, we lost the camera. Come on, Gary. Yeah, and now it's all goofy. All right. Right, stay there, Gary. Quit screwing around, Gary. Dabney disagrees with Gladstone's contention that the proper end of human government is to foster the welfare of human beings in all things. Dabney calls this the pan view of civil government, and he rejects it for three reasons. Romans 13:4 teaches otherwise. It is utterly impractical and renders every association of human beings an extension of the state. Dabney is especially exercised by this last point. If the proper object of the state is the whole welfare of man, including his highest and ultimate good, then there is no family and no church that exists originally and independently of the state. The parent is but the delegate of the government, as the government concerns itself with man's summum bonum in all things, including the family. Likewise, ecclesiastical persons and assemblies are but magistrates engaged in one part of their functions. The state that is, by its very nature and object, designed to be concerned with the whole welfare of man is a state that can and must interfere in everything. I know that many of my friends with an appreciation for Christian nationalism also appreciate Thomas Sowell. I would urge them to recall Sewell's distinction between the unconstrained vision of human nature and the constrained vision. Progressives tend to have an unconstrained view of human nature, believing in the great things that government can achieve when human beings work together, freed from the ills of poverty, prejudice, and ignorance. Conservatives, on the other hand, usually hold to a constrained view of the human person, believing that human beings are inherently flawed, prone to abuse authority, and mistreat others. I fail to see how the vision of Christian nationalism, with its insistence that government ought to be concerned with the whole perfection of man, fits with the constrained view of human nature and accounts for the inherent corruption in every human heart, including and maybe especially in the hearts of those who exercise power over others. I want to read that Gladstone quote again. The proper end of human government is to foster the welfare of human beings in all things. We can talk about that later. Along these lines, I've said before that there are two ways we could conceive of civil government. One way is to think of the best that government can and should accomplish if the right people are in charge, and then to design a government toward that end, that grand end. The other way to think of all the worst that government can and often does pursue because human beings are selfish and corrupt, and then to design a government that will frustrate these inclinations. The American founding, with its emphasis on liberty, equality, and freedom, was oriented more toward the latter than the former. This is why James Madison wrote in Federalist 51 about the need for ambition to counteract ambition and for a realistic recognition that the government will not be run by angels. The French Revolution may have believed in the perfectibility of man, but the American founders designed a government with imperfect human beings in mind. I do not want a government to direct its citizens to the highest heavenly good or to order society around true religion, because I do not trust government to determine true religion from false religion, because I do not trust human beings to wield this kind of authority well or wisely. I hold these convictions not in avoidance of Calvinist theology, but precisely because I am a Calvinist. A reformed understanding of human nature should lead one to grant the civil magistrate less power in matters of religion, not more.
Mm-hmm.
What have you to say, Mr. Engel?
I think a lot of this fails to appreciate like how inappropriate it is to approach political theory like we're blueprinting some ideal.
Yes.
And I don't think that you can interpret the founders that way. I think a lot of it is government has to arise to the occasion in which it finds itself.
Yes.
And so because the incorruptibility because of the corruptibility of man, you actually need government to have a flexibility to it. And I think it is like inappropriate I think it's inappropriate to approach government where you're saying, here's all of its restrictions, because then what you're doing is you're allowing subversives to come in and exploit the government's own limitations in order to get their way and corrupt the government. So government has to be flexible. It has to be attuned to where the threats are, and it has to challenge them in ways that I think are often like unappreciated. Like I would consider like this libertarian view of government as the stagnant view, where the government has these restrictions imposed on it and it can never deviate from them.
That's right.
And I don't think that's a good way of approaching politics. I think politics needs to be very responsive to new ways in which the people are corrupting themselves and undermining the well-being of the nation.
Yeah.
In the context of the American founding and the American Constitution, I think that it very much was a compromise conglomeration of all of these different interests that the specific moment called for. And so I think that you can't just bring that over into the 21st century. The government is going to have to be much more involved because we have an immoral people.
Yeah, absolutely. And the question is, again, of a government designed to perfect humanity, right? That's not anything anyone is proposing, right? That it perfects humanity.
No, but I think it is the role of government to provide order and to set the preconditions for man's thriving.
Yeah.
Does that mean it should be a totalitarian state? No, of course not. Why? Because of exactly what the things that he laid out here. But does that mean the government should always be this libertarian paradise? No. Absolutely not. I mean, so it needs to be reactive to, the actual, real world situations. So I think that, part of the Christian nationalist paradigm is very much consistent with the American founding and not the French Revolution, because we're not driving toward a society that is centrally planned at all. But the government has to respond to specific threats, even specific threats of power. Because I mean, this is another thing that's not appreciated very often, is because there are very evil people that want to achieve their own objectives by holding on to the reins of power and applying them to society, transing kids.
Yeah.
The only way you can get that back is not by appealing to the Constitution, but actually having power and wielding that power against those enemies of mankind. And that takes power to do it. Like, this is the classic Machiavellian, I know it's not supposed to say that, but like James Burnham said this over, like John Calhoun said this over and over again, that no amount of political theory and theorizing and like well-crafted papers are going to stop a government that has power from transing your kids if they want to do that. The only thing that can stop that is the wielding of power. Yeah. And sometimes that wielding of power is going to take intense mechanisms. Yeah. Because like these are very real threats. That's right. And if it wasn't for the mobilization of evangelicals in 2024, the Harris administration would have outlawed Christianity in many ways, or some of the implications of Christianity.
And not overtly, like they wouldn't pass a law. Christianity is now illegal in America. But
no, but in the same way that they shut down churches, that way. Right.
Yeah.
And so like you need power to stop that.
Yeah, not only that, I mean, it's like, don't quote laws at men with swords. Mm-hmm. Right? You only can confront power with power. And the way the Constitution operates today is it is a limiting mechanism on the counter-revolution. Right? Mm-hmm. It puts no limits whatsoever, or almost no limits, on the revolution.
So here's another thing about the classical liberal paradigm. I think within the context of the American Revolution and the American, founding, you had all of these decentralized societies and organizations that were basically operating in order to that were basically operating with a Christian view in mind. And they were already doing that. And so you didn't need the federal government to also duplicate that role. And so you could have this very like laissez-faire federal government, because all of these, state governments and local governments and, the role of the church and the family, these things were already there. However, when you absolutize this laissez-fairness and you lose that cultural soil where there's these natural restraints and you don't have any government, then you're going to get very bad, anarchic, morally subversive situations.
Well, we don't have, conservatives love to quote de Tocqueville, right? But we don't have any of the little platoons of democracy at all. I mean, we have a totally atomized society. Yeah. And people don't even have families anymore. Or much less in the same way. Maybe you still have nuclear families. You have mom and dad and kids. Kind of. But you don't have broad, extended family networks in close proximity to one another. Mm-hmm. You don't have membership in civil organizations together. Mm-hmm. You don't have this thick fabric that holds people together. Everyone's totally atomized. And so you have to rebuild those things. And that's something that can take generations to rebuild. And the technological constraints that we are under, partly exacerbated by the political situation, has driven that atomization. And you have to wield state power to bring them back, to bring back actual communities. Yeah. Right. And you're not like creating some state agency of the family or of the church or of local community.
So the point is, like,
you have to foster those things.
When you have these things fostered, you don't need a federal government to direct its citizens to the highest heavenly good. Or it's not obvious. It's not obvious in that situation what happens. But in our situation, it's very obvious what happens when you absolutize the old laissez-faire situation.
Yeah. And so much of this is like believing that in 1787, I mean, and this is not true because it's changed multiple times, right? We have different American republics, if we're being honest with ourselves. But it's this kind of diluted view that in 1787, humanity perfected the perfect system and it can never be changed. Mm-hmm. It can never be stepped outside of, even temporarily, which, I mean, has happened. That's what happened. I mean, that's what the Civil War was, right? You had an American Caesar named Abraham Lincoln in the middle of the 19th century, right? That's what you had, where he wielded as close to absolute power as one could. And then you had another one in the middle of the 20th century named Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who literally served as president for life and had super majorities in both houses that were totally aligned with him.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point that, the courts were not a problem for him at all, right? He's just like, you don't like it, I'm just going to keep adding Supreme Court justices until you do what I want. And so we've had these things in our past.
Yeah.
Right. So the Christian prince that Stephen talks about, we've had the Prince of Satan before in FDR. Right. I know Southerners aren't going to like some Southerners aren't going to like hearing that, but that's
Southerners love that.
The reality. No, the criticizing FDR. He's beloved.
Is he
in the South?
Is he?
Oh yeah, you didn't know that?
FDR's beloved.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh, because
he's like a northeastern establishment.
He is, but I mean, it's because when things were really bad, he produced all the programs that kept people from starving to death. And so there's a long history of adoring him. But my perspective, the Isker family in the 1930s hated FDR.
Yeah. You guys are probably more like Robert Taft types.
Yes. In fact, I believe my great-grandpa, I'll have to ask my dad this. I believe my great-grandpa was an alternate delegate to the RNC in 48.
Cool.
And would have been, voted for Taft.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, yeah, we were Taft Republicans through anti-New Dealers. Deep, that's my American heritage, opposing the New Deal. Yeah, baby, yeah. So I don't show up in the Civil War registry with my last name, but we contributed in other ways. Unfortunately, unsuccessfully. But at any rate, that's what we had. But I'll finish the point that I derailed myself, as I often do. But that's the point, right? That is the point. Is that government, and we keep going back to this. Government is particularist.
Mm-hmm.
It fits the present circumstances and the conditions of its people at any moment. That's what it does. And people will maybe call that like morally relativistic. I don't think it is. I think it's reality. Mm-hmm. Right. That's the way things progress. Like peoples progress and mature over time. And they can mature in good ways and bad ways.
Yeah.
But that's how history works.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll move on. I think we sufficiently answered that. Right. I hope Kevin Young watches this. Right. You should all spam his feed. I don't even think he reads Twitter, but you should spam him with this anyway. Because like we're honestly answering his questions. Right. So question 4. What does it mean for the civil magistrate to promote true religion? Before we move on to question 4, I almost forgot. Before we move on to question 4, at the halfway point of the episode, an hour and a half in, we have an ad for Backwards Planning Financial.
Let's do it.
Our friends at Backwards Planning Financial. So watch this attentively. And if you want to get some financial planning, I mean, this is the time right now. Like Christmas time is, everybody kind of feels a crunch, financially and family budget and all of that. Now is the time to call Joe. So we'll play this ad for you and be back in 1 minute.
This is Dave. Dave is dead. When he wasn't, he was a successful businessman with a rather large estate. This is Ben. As Dave's son, Ben has just inherited a logistical nightmare. Dave wasn't exactly organized with his estate. Sorting through folders, receipts, and records, a hunting lodge in Montana, a 401k, lots of investments, several bank accounts, and of course, taxes. Ben was overwhelmed. Enter Joe Garrissey of Backwards Planning Financial. When Ben called Joe and explained everything, Joe replied,
"No problem. That's easy."
And somehow it was. With Joe's guidance, Ben was able to put a robust financial plan in place which helped mitigate risk and bring order to the chaos, while building wealth, organizing his estate, easing the tax burdens, and cutting unnecessary costs. He helped Ben do something Dave never did: plan ahead. Starting at the end and working backwards, Ben now has a plan for his own family. Now his kids won't go through what he did when he eventually... Backwards Planning Financial. Start planning for your death before you're gone.
What is everything's shaking. You're on camera there. Sorry. Breathe in and running. You didn't have to be back right away. Breaking news. What's the breaking news, Mr. Engel?
Supreme Court is going to hear the birthright citizenship case. Makes me nervous. I don't know when it is. I mean, I should see that.
I'm
too.
sure
Next year.
The ruling would come out around 4th of July. Wouldn't that be great for the 250th birthday of America?
That's crazy.
That the Supreme Court rules 5-4.
Yeah.
That the 14th Amendment doesn't give you a right to just be born here and be a citizen.
Man,
you have to be
crazy.
born to people subject to the jurisdiction thereof.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. December 5th, petition for writ. Granted. Doesn't say a date.
Okay. Yeah, that's great, man. I mean, it could
Makes
be
me
great.
nervous.
It could be great.
Because if
It's a
it
coin
doesn't
flip.
if it doesn't go our way, it's going to cement a lot of
Then it's back to this discussion of like you have to do some George Washington stuff, right? Like
nervous.
that something to pray for, everyone. Something to be praying for a lot. Like basically the fate of our nation hinges on what these 9 people think. So pray for the health of Clarence Thomas and everyone else. I mean,
Speaking of FDR, he would have stacked the bench to prepare for this.
Oh yeah, he would have he would appoint like 10 more justices. But of course, the Republican Senate is utterly worthless, so they wouldn't make it happen. So question number 4: what does it mean for the civil magistrate to promote the true religion? Some recent proposals, instead of using the language of Christian nationalism, have called more generally for the civil magistrate to promote true religion. I grant that one can argue for the promotion position without being a Christian nationalist. The circles are overlapping, but not identical. Nevertheless, I think the question is important in trying to determine what promote means and whether it is, in the end, much different than various forms of Christian nationalism proposals. The argument, specifically as it relates to Presbyterians, is that even if American Presbyterians at the end of the 18th century rejected church establishments like the ones that existed in England or Scotland, they were still in favor of a soft establishment. That is, they were in favor of a pan-Protestant establishment whereby no Protestant denomination would receive government patronage above another. But Protestant Christianity as a whole would be upheld and promoted. There is certainly some truth to this historical claim. The Presbyterians who revised the Westminster Confession of Faith in 1788, that's interesting that they can just revise it.
Why?
You can just revise it.
Well, because they're
Americans. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, it's been over 100 years, but we're gonna tweak it a little bit.
Mhm.
Right. That's crazy. The hyper confessionalists are just like, you can do it. You're allowed to do it. Right. Could we revise the Westminster Confession today? Right.
Nope.
Say that, like,
They could.
yeah.
Oh yeah, they could add.
Yeah. That feminism
fact,
is evil.
Yeah.
Right. Like
well,
things like that. Like
they would
women pastors.
they would renounce anti-Semitism.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they would do. You can't be against Israel. They're the holy people. You must send Benjamin Netanyahu missiles. The Bible says missiles. So anyway, the Presbyterians who revised the Westminster Confession of Faith in 1788 still assumed that the civil magistrate would be Christian and that Protestant Christianity would have a privileged place in the new American Republic. Fact check. True. They were not secularists or mere proceduralists. Also true. But I wouldn't call their view a soft establishment because these Presbyterians equated the establishment principle with the specter of Anglican hegemony they were trying to prevent. In explaining the revisions to the Confession in 1788 and how the delegates proved a new understanding of the civil magistrate, Ashbel Green observed that government patronage for the, I said patronage before because I wanted to sound more waspy, patronage for the church would be a calamity and a curse. Likewise, Samuel Miller celebrated God's blessings to America in giving them a land where the people under God are supreme and where we have no ecclesiastical establishments. Protestant Christianity may have been a public truth and a privileged truth, but Presbyterians did not want an established church of any kind. But that still leaves the question of whether the civil magistrate ought to promote true religion. That depends, of course, on what is meant by promote. Does promote mean that the magistrate must have a sincere devotion to Christ? Does it? I think not.
I don't know.
I mean, obviously it's preferable.
Mhm.
It's what you want. But if he's cynically doing it, great.
Mhm.
I mean, with some possible caveats, right? It's not always necessarily great, but it could be. Right. So I'm saying it's not absolutely necessary. Right. Be a regular churchgoer, have a credible profession of faith. Right. So like
Can you take this for a second?
oh, you gotta oh, all right. CJ's got a call to make. Hopefully everything is okay. All right. Be a regular churchgoer, have a credible profession of faith, adorn the gospel by his behavior, speak of Christ and the Christian faith publicly and warmly. I'm in favor of these things, as God has called all Christians to these things. I want the civil magistrate to be Christian and to be an exemplary one at that. Of course, I do too. We all do. We all want that. But can it be a man like Donald Trump? Yes. Yes, I think it can. I think he can do things, even if he's doing it to appease a constituency, a large constituency of Christians, right? To make them happy in a transactional way as the ruler. That's fine.
Mhm.
That's good. And yet I suspect that promote is meant to entail more than this. Yes, of course it is. But what? Calling for days of prayer and fasting? Yes, something that, like, I just called FDR, the satanic prince. But he did that.
Mhm.
Right? He did that during the Second World War. I guess, until the Supreme Court has ruled you can't do that, FDR. Sorry. Didn't pack it enough, I guess, or threaten enough. We're calling for days of prayer and fasting, giving fireside chats at Christmas that speak about the good news of Christ's birth, defending the rights of conscience and religious liberty by establishing a military chaplain corps, tax breaks for churches and clergy. I like all that. Good, me too. Or does promote mean supporting churches and ministers from tax revenue? Maybe. Right? Maybe it does. I don't think that's necessarily good. Certainly with the government that we have today, I mean, even when it's good, right? Even when people we like are in charge, I don't like that. And I don't like it because, right, money comes with strings attached.
Mhm.
That's why I would be, but I'd be against it for prudential reasons, not
Right.
like universalist ones.
Yeah.
Right. That is universally bad in every occasion and circumstance. Right. No, I don't think that necessarily.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, countries can make up their own, like, political orders can make up their own rules,
right,
about what, like, so, like, I love the American founding because, like, you had a plethora of examples of this.
Yeah. Was
And
King Alfred wrong for giving tax money to churches, to build
right.
churches and to priests and things like that? No, I don't think so. Right.
Does that mean we have to? No, it doesn't
Would
either.
it be wrong for us to do it today?
Could be unwise.
Maybe. I
yeah.
think it would be stupid.
Mhm.
Actually, it'd be very foolish to do that. Right. So making religious tests of office, right? America had that. At the signing of the Constitution, at the ratification of the Constitution, most of the states had some sort of religious test
Mhm.
for holding public office.
Yeah.
Right. To be elected to anything in most of the states, you had to believe in the Old and New Testament. What does that mean? It means certain category of people not allowed to
Mhm.
hold office.
Mhm.
Right. Certain people, you had to, if you say that, right, and that you're honest, belief, you're not perjuring yourself and just lying to become a public official, right? You had to be Christian, right? Was that evil at the time for them to do that? Kevin DeYoung would say yes. Right. Making religious test of office, reforming the church so that its worship, discipline, and doctrine are in line with God's word. Right. If we had, a George Washington, if Elon Musk was able to take DNA of George Washington and clone him and bring him back to, one, it's like you'd have to raise him in a late 18th century environment and do, and all of that to really recreate the person. Right. This is kind of a dumb science fiction thing. Anyway. Bear with me. Like, we bring George Washington back to life, right? He's our Christian prince, right? Would he? And he says, you know what? We gotta shut down all the rainbow stole churches in this country. We just cannot have that anymore, right? Would that be an evil thing for George Washington to do? I don't know. Right, shutting down churches and religious assemblies that are false and idolatrous. These are bad ideas in my estimation. I might agree with promote, but the devil is in the details, right? Would it be, right? Could you conceive of a situation, right? And so this is always like, these are theoretical questions, right? I'm not saying that this is what must happen or what my political platform is or whatever. But if a George Washington came and, shut down the gay pride churches, just said, no, you're done. We're not allowing that anymore, right? With that, right? Is it a universal principle that would be wrong and evil for him to do?
According to post-war thinking, yes.
Yes. But according to Christian thinking prior to the middle of the 20th century,
no.
The answer would be no.
No.
The answer would be no. All right. So he continues on. I've written twice about the American revisions to the Westminster Confession of Faith to reflect a new understanding of the civil magistrate. I know that some people are see more continuity between the 1646 confession and the 1788 confession. Others have argued that just because the American revision removes something from the original confession does not mean that what is removed is now forbidden. Duh. I think the two versions of the confession, as they relate to the civil magistrate, are mutually exclusive at points. Also true. But even if those arguing for more continuity are correct, we still must face the question squarely. What is the civil magistrate supposed to do? Right. So some of this, he's a PCA guy, so he's speaking to the PCA that holds to the 1788 Westminster Confession of Faith. That's what he says. Speaking specifically to Presbyterians at this point. But these are important questions to ask ourselves and the officers of our churches. Do you believe that the civil magistrate must take order that unity and peace be preserved in the church? He might have to. Right? He might. I mean, just think of it for 1 second. How did the Westminster Assembly come to be in the first place? Right? Do you know? Do you know Kevin DeYoung? Do you know the history? Obviously, you do. How did it happen? Did all of these, Presbyterian Reformed divines all throughout the land of England, all throughout the island of Britain, did they all just decide, hey guys, we should get together and form, write out what we believe? We should just go do that. What do you guys think? Right? No, that's not what happened. What happened? Parliament called them to do it. Asked them to do it. Right? The government, civic power said, you guys need to do this right now because we need order in the church. Right? So the very question that he's asking, do you believe the civil magistrate must take order that unity and peace must be preserved in the church? That's how the Westminster Confession came to be in the first place. Right? Like, this is so silly. This is ridiculous. Am I getting too worked up here? Like,
yes.
But it's so preposterous that you can't even see this because you're so steeped in middle of the 20th century things. It's absurd. It's nuts. All right. Do you believe that the civil magistrate must take order so that the truth of God be kept pure and blameless? Again, how did the Westminster Confession happen?
Yeah.
That's why they did it. That's why they called the assembly. Do you believe that the civil magistrate must take orders so that all blasphemies and heresies are suppressed? Again, why did the English Civil War happen? Right. What was it fought over? I don't know. Right. Like sometimes
Well, he
it's
would
necessary.
say that's an example of why it's bad.
Oh, of course he would.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because they had religious establishments, you had to fight it.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay,
Well, now we're still having fights,
we are.
but it's over like way different things.
Right.
So we have
do men and women exist?
I actually think it's better to fight over religious things. I think those
Yeah.
are like
absolutely.
when-
it's not just better, like you are, but just like have it overt.
when
out
the
in open.
people witness that their government takes these things so seriously that they're willing to engage in political strife over. I
Yeah.
mean, that is a sign. It's almost a sanctification process.
That's a sign of a actually healthy society.
Yeah.
It is. Like we think like we've been steeped in this and marinated in this thought that from atheists, from people that reject God, hate God, the religion only produces war. And it's like, no, actually produces peace. And that, yeah, like you said, religious conflict it's
healthy.
It's good.
Yeah. That's
right?
how we
they're
got
taking it serious.
that's how we got the doctrine of the Trinity.
Yeah. Well, it's how we got the doctrine of the Trinity. It's how we had the Reformation.
Mhm.
Because kings and rulers decided this is worth fighting over and using political power over, right? You ain't getting a Reformation without that. It's not, they have this like diluted populist idea of religion and politics and theology that just spontaneously enough people decided, well, I just don't want to pay indulgences anymore. Right. And now we're going to reform the church. Let's go do it, guys. Right. No, it happened because of political power.
Mhm.
That's why. Right. And political power is always going to be exercised in religion. It just might not be religion qua religion. Right. It might not be overt. But do you think all the tranny stuff, do you think all the gay stuff, do you think all of the gay race communist stuff isn't religious? All the woke stuff? That is religion. That is public religion that we are fighting over right now. Right? That's what's happening. So anyway, back to this. I'm getting worked up.
I don't know if we should go through all these sub questions.
I'll go fast. I'll go fast here, man. Do you believe that the civil magistrate must take orders so that all corruptions and abuses in worship and discipline are prevented or reformed? Right? All? Maybe not all, but
Well, it depends on the situation.
it depends on your context, right?
In fact, getting into more detail on religious matters for the civil magistrate is the reward that a Christian nation can actually get
Yes.
once it's got the basics figured out. So
Yeah.
the reason that you could get really detailed in the 17th century in England was because they had gone through centuries of the more basic stuff.
Yeah.
And worked up to those things. But you don't
That's
take a secular society like us today and immediately go to
Yeah.
differences over paedo communion or
Yeah,
something.
what's going to be allowed? We're going to allow Baptists here?
Yeah,
or
we don't-
not? Like, come on.
It's
Yeah.
the detailed stuff is the reward for getting the baseline right.
Give us a few hundred years of being Christian again,
Exactly.
and then we can be rewarded with
exactly.
a big fight over baptism.
Yes.
Right. So, do you believe that the civil magistrate must take order so that the ordinance of God are duly selected, administered, and observed? Again, same thing, right? We'll get that reward one day. Do you believe that the civil magistrate has power to call ecclesiastical synods?
Good.
Where do you think? Come on, like where do you think the Westminster Assembly came from? Give me a break. Or do you believe that the civil magistrate has power to ensure that whatever is transacted in an ecclesiastical synod is according to the mind of God? Right. Again, same thing ad nauseum, again and again and again and again. Right. Do you believe that those who make public such opinions or maintain such practices that are contrary to the light of nature or the known principles of Christianity as they relate to faith, worship, and conversation may be prosecuted by the power of the civil magistrate? All right. Maybe. Yeah. Right. The original version of the Westminster Confession, 1646, called for all of these things, and the American revision of the Westminster Confession of 1788 removed all of these lines.
See, yeah. That just reflects,
Yeah.
you know,
the Americanism.
the political changes that were
Yeah,
happening.
exactly. Like it's a different order, right? It's a different people,
Mhm.
right? In some ways the same, in many ways different. But it's like, right? You would have to think that the original Westminster Confession and the context in which it happened, that context is bad,
Mhm.
and we can't want the cultural and political and sociological environment of 17th century England or something like it, right? That's a bad circumstance to be in, right? That's the implication of the question,
Right.
and that the one in America is therefore ipso facto better, right? Neither one is better or worse. They correspond to the realities, the particular realities at the time, right? So if the word promote entails any of the above, and these were the means by which the Westminster divines believed the magistrate was to promote the Reformed faith, then I am against the civil magistrate promoting true religion, right? Well, that's just because you believe that the 1788 Westminster Confession is a paper pope and you can't ever criticize it or disagree with it, right? Like that's just hyper-confessionalism, right? I mean, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, I have to be against it because I took vows and said I agree with this, right? Well, I don't know, man. I don't know what you're gonna do there. Then you're stuck the way it is. You're not allowed to think about these things. Sorry. Right. Well, no.
Or yeah, I mean, were everything before 1788 were they sinful for having?
Yeah.
Oh, and also there were people that dissented from the remaking of the confession. Were they sinful?
Yeah. Were they sinning in some way, or were they in gross error? Maybe damnable error. Like who knows? Right. It's just it's bizarre to me.
Mm-hmm.
This way of operating or thinking that like, well, we figured everything out in 1788 and nothing has changed and nothing needs to be revised. Right. They thought it needed to be revised because the political circumstances were different.
Mm-hmm.
The cultural circumstances were different. Right. Has anything changed between now and 1788? Yeah. Yeah. Like if you took somebody that wrote and signed the American revision to the Westminster Confession, brought him here today, right? Who do you think they would agree with?
Yeah.
Or Kevin DeYoung?
Right.
Give me a break, man. I mean, they might not like people trolling on Twitter either. I don't know. Every political leader must give an account to Christ of his beliefs and behaviors. Yes, including his cowardice. That is true for all human beings. But once we insist that a government should be in the business of promoting true religion, as the Westminster divines understood that task, we are left with the question of who determines what is the true religion. Oh, I guess you can't possibly know. We can't possibly ever know what the true religion is. Give me a break. We can say that we know what the true religion is, and that, of course, is what the civil magistrate must promote, right? I mean, if the civil magistrate, if like you look at the Ten Commandments, where's civil magistrate come from? It's right. Honor thy father and thy mother, right? Your father is the king of the household, right? What's he doing? Right? He's determining what the true religion is and is instilling that in his children, right? Well, I don't think any man should have that power. Well, congratulations. You're no different than somebody who wants his child to pick out his own gender, right? Like, no, you do have that power and you should exercise that power. And so, right, kings have that power. You don't think that right now the rulers of our decrepit, disgusting political order today are not wielding that power and saying, here's what you have to believe. Here's what blasphemy is, right? Here's what true worship is, gay race communism, right? Don't ever violate those things or you are the most evil person that exists. You are a heretic, right? These are religious terms that they operate in, right? They're pushing secularism is the religion, right? They're pushing that as the religion, right? It's unavoidable. It's not a whether, but a which. It is. You will have someone picking the religion, right? And ours is irreligion, right? That's what it is. We could say that, I read that already, but the clear record of history demonstrates that human beings will not agree on how ultimate spiritual and metaphysical questions should be answered. Yeah, people don't agree, and you have politics.
Yeah, that's what politics
right?
is.
Yeah.
The idea that we can't act until everybody agrees is insane.
We have to have a consensus, right? We have to have a majority believe these things.
It's actually like the most dangerous aspect of liberalism is you can't act unless everyone.
You're paralyzed.
Everyone consents. Yeah.
Right. It's like, have you ever been in school and been in a group project or at work and been part of a committee. And everyone's like, well, we got to wait until everyone agrees before we can do anything. And it's like, I was in those environments and I would end up just doing the whole group project.
Yeah.
Be like, just give it to me. I'll do it. You guys just, go party or something. I'll do the project. I don't care what you think. Like, I'm just going to do it. And in work environments, it's operated the same way where you just like somebody's got to take the bull by the horns, right? But that's a symptom of liberalism.
That's why politics matters,
has to
because
agree.
whoever's in charge actually is going to be the one that determines the true religion.
Yeah. We're doing a group project collectively as a society. And somebody's going to have to be the guy that says, look, this isn't working. Just let me do it. Right. That's what politics is. Always. To require human government to promote true religion is to expect that government is competent to answer these questions.
It is.
Is your dad competent to answer that question, Kevin? Was your father competent to answer that question, Kevin DeYoung? Right? Could he answer that question? Right? Yeah. Oh, he did. Well, okay. There's some human governments that can.
Doesn't mean they have to be infallible.
Yeah. No. Exactly. But
there are good kings.
Exactly. Was King Alfred? Was Charlemagne? Right? Were they competent? Was Constantine? We're getting into Constantine. Here we go. Were they? Yeah, they were.
They were competent.
Yes.
Were they perfect?
No, they were not inerrant, sinless men, but they were competent.
The result will be something closer to might makes right than to the enlightened rule of godly magistrates. Not necessarily.
Yeah, he's calling us Nietzscheans here.
Yeah.
Power, I'm willing to power. Like, no, that it's such a facile view of government and politics. This is like 11th grade civics class, man. Right. The result will be something closer to might makes right than to the enlightened rule of godly magistrates directing us to the heavenly good. Right. A better approach. Right. I mean, even in England in the 17th century. Right. Were they able to do that? Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, they did.
They did do that.
Does that mean might make right? Not at all.
Yeah. Does it mean, well, Cromwell won? Or was it before Cromwell's? I think it was before Cromwell's victory.
Before, yeah.
Yeah, but like that's what cemented it. Well, I guess it kind of did, didn't it? Right. The Roundheads did pretty good. So anyway, back to Mr. DeYoung. A better approach, which most Christians and most Westerners came to discover, is to take government out of the business of discerning and then promoting the answers to life's most important question. Right. Yeah, they just have to pretend to just not know. We just don't know. We can't possibly know. And that's an answer to life's most important questions. Is saying, I don't really know, guys. I'm going to pretend like I don't know. Even though I do kind of know, I'm going to pretend like I don't know. That's an answer. That's it. That's what you're doing, right? He's pleading for neutrality. He's arguing for secularism.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like biblical sanction on agnosticism.
Yeah,
in politics.
You must have an agnostic king who just pretends like God doesn't exist, like the Bible's not true.
Should government get out of the business of discerning moral questions like abortion and gay marriage? Because
those are life's most important questions.
But is government competent to say, and who decides? Who decides at what stage is a child alive or not?
How could we possibly know? I guess we're going to have to use science, right? Like, come on. Absurd. I believe the magistrate ought to maintain piety, justice, and peace. Westminster Confession 23:2, American revision, and the original. And I believe he accomplishes these ends, right? So how does he maintain piety? Interesting. I believe he accomplishes these ends by protecting the church without giving any preference to any denomination, by ensuring that ecclesiastical persons shall enjoy the unquestioned liberty of discharging every part of their sacred functions, by protecting the person and good name of all people, even unbelievers, and by taking order so that all religious assemblies could do their work without disturbance. Westminster Confession of Faith 23:3.
Okay. That's Christian nationalism, first of all. Would he allow for someone to set up a Sharia or an Islamic church?
He gets to that.
Yeah, I know. I know. Because who decides?
Yeah, who decides?
Who decides? Who can discern whether that's
if you want to, if you want to have the gay porn church, right? Who decides?
Who decides?
Right. Likewise, I believe that the civil magistrate must not enact any laws that interfere with the due exercise of the church's government, discipline, and worship. In short, I believe the civil magistrate may not in the least interfere in matters of faith. Cool. That's nice. But you
within our paradigm, I don't either.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah. Do I want Kamala Harris to determine these? No.
Just particularist. Yeah.
So question.
This is the easiest one.
Question 5.
He takes the most time on it. Wow.
Yeah. I don't even know if we need to read all of it. Because it's so facile, man. If I had only one question to ask a proponent of Christian nationalism, this would be my first. Should have just led with this and been done with it. Right. What do you believe about the First Amendment? Granted, many of my Christian heroes from the past would not have agreed with the principle of religious freedom enshrined in the First Amendment. The Bible does not mandate the First Amendment, though I think it can be supported from and arises out of Christian principles. The reason I would start here is that increasingly, I think the issue of the First Amendment is the quickest way to determine what kind of Christian nationalism we are talking about. By the First Amendment, I don't mean the abuses of the First Amendment. The original intent of the Establishment Clause was not to remove Christian symbols from the public square or to install a secular government untainted by religion or to erect, in the words of the infamous Everson 1947 decision, a high and impregnable wall between church and state. Virtually no one at the founding conceived of political and social order devoid of religion. The purpose of the Establishment Clause was not to create a strict separation between church and state, nor even to enforce a studied neutrality, but to ensure that religious minorities were accommodated and that religious pluralism was protected in a large commercial republic. That and allowing the states to do what they want. My interest in asking the first, he doesn't get into that. My interest in asking the First Amendment question is not about the Establishment Clause, but about the Free Exercise Clause. The two clauses should not be confused. I'm entirely in agreement with those who want to recover an originalist understanding of the Establishment Clause and push back on the mistaken notion that the Constitution meant to excise religion from public and political life. But in making this correction, we must not forget that the First Amendment protects more than private belief. It ensures the free exercise of religion. What I want to know is whether Christian nationalists think that this First Amendment protection extends to all citizens of whatever religion. I want to go back one more time to the aforementioned article from Doug Wilson about Christian nationalism. Wilson defends the right of religion, but only to a point. He writes, the doctrine of religious liberty is elastic and can be stretched to accommodate a number of options within a broad Christian consensus. But religious liberty cannot accommodate jihadists flying planes into skyscrapers, or Aztec priests slaughtering prisoners on ziggurats, or child prostitution in Hindu temples, or Islamic honor killings. Human religiosity has at many times been beyond grotesque, and we cannot hide the fact that that the thin whitewash of secular liberal bromides about the blessings of religious liberty, if you want to pretend that the differences between the Muslim Brotherhood and the Presbyterians is comparable to the differences between Baptists and Presbyterians, then you deserve everything that is coming your way, good and hard. 100%, Doug. Very good. Look at the 4 examples Wilson cites: jihadists flying planes to skyscrapers, Aztec priests, child prostitution in Hindu temples, Islamic honor killings. The rhetorical force of these examples leads the reader to conclude, I guess religious liberty must have serious limitations. But all 4 examples cite activity that is already and has always been illegal. Oh, it's illegal, guys. I guess it better pack it up. No one thinks that religious liberty is a blank check to do anything you want because you claim it is part of your religion. When the federal government a constitution was written, most of the state constitutions had already spelled out the rights of conscience were not to interfere with the peace and safety of others. Following these examples, Wilson chides anyone who thinks the differences between the Muslim Brotherhood and Presbyterians are comparable to the differences between Baptists and Presbyterians. Again, I don't know anyone who thinks those are comparable differences. Note also that Wilson cites the Muslim Brotherhood, an organization of militant revolutionaries, instead of Muslims in general. Right. Well, let's just go with Muslims, Somali Muslims in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Let's just go with that. Or Dearborn, Michigan. If Wilson's point is that religious liberty does not protect murderers, terrorists, and sex traffickers, then of course he is right. But if those examples distract from the more pressing question, what about non-terrorist Muslims and the not in the practice of child prostitution Hindus? Are they protected by the First Amendment? I'm not sure what Wilson would say I'm sure that many Christian nationalists believe peaceable Muslims are not protected. Someone may argue at this point, yeah, but the First Amendment didn't envision 2,700 mosques in America. True. And the Second Amendment didn't envision the AK-47 and 400 million guns in the country.
True.
True. But
only one threatens American heritage and the other one does not.
yes, precisely. But conservatives believe in the principle of the Second Amendment still applies in a different cultural reality. Conservatives ought to believe that the principle of the First Amendment still applies too.
I don't think so.
I don't think it does.
No, I think that I think culture is actually something worth protecting. Religious culture is part of that. And so hypothetically, if there was some random individual on the frontier who had this Islamist view of the world, I would have I wouldn't ask the government to come in and nuke him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when an entire region of the American Midwest becomes Islamified, that is a different situation. So the question isn't whether the federal government ought to interfere in someone's private conscience. No. But whether it becomes a threat to the well-being of a culture and their heritage and the ongoing expression of the American way of life,
like this would
then it should call upon the government to do something. Yeah,
this would not even be a question outside of Hart Celler. Right? It wouldn't be. Right? Could you have a random Hindu in 1900 somewhere?
Sure. But it is a question today.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Because like the Islamic cities in Texas or whatever, they're not harming anyone. They're not imposing Sharia law on anyone that doesn't voluntarily want to go there and participate in that community. However, I still think that the culture of Texas is worth using government to protect. And so I don't think that the First Amendment was meant to apply to those things, and those things undermine the American way of life, and so therefore the government should deal with it. The AK-47 is mostly being employed by American patriots.
That's right. Yeah.
So I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
So I'm a hyper particularist.
I am too. But I mean, the reason I bring up Hart Celler is, right, this is more a question of that. Like, these people should not even be here. Right. All of the Muslims in Dearborn, Michigan, or Somalis in
but I believe that we can
cite
Texas. Okay, but I believe that we can cite religious culture in order to make our arguments.
I mean, that's a big reason why.
Because it's more important than some abstract application of the First Amendment.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Like, they should not be in our country.
And look,
they should not be practicing.
Constitutional decisions have been made in the 20th century that argues for their existence and for their growth and expansion.
Yeah.
And I think the originalist reading, like, I don't think John Adams or any of these people.
Dearborn, Michigan to look the way it does?
I don't know. In fact, like, Thomas Jefferson was writing about the superiority of the Anglo-Saxon culture. And his view of immigration, which was more liberal than others, like Alexander Hamilton, would have allowed specific individuals to come in and assimilate, but not for the entire culture to have this massive upheaval.
Yeah, not to do mass migration.
No.
And demographic displacement.
Demographic displacement or cultural displacement, either.
Yeah, all of them together, right? Like, people make a culture, right? That's part of it. Like, why are there Muslim cities in Michigan and Hindu cities in Texas, right? Because we've imported the people here. And so the question isn't, well, it's First Amendment right. You can't be angry about it because you can't be uncomfortable with that or not like it because, well, the First Amendment, right? That's what he's trying to do here, right? Well, you don't like the First Amendment. And it's like, the First Amendment is for a Christian nation.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it was written in the context of.
Yeah,
right.
It was written for them and their posterity.
The Second Amendment
was also written for them and their posterity.
And right, we have limited the Second Amendment way more than the First Amendment.
True.
Right. You could buy the equivalent of an aircraft carrier if you wanted to. Right. If Elon Musk wanted to spend, how much do they cost? Like $10-20 billion. Right. If Jeff Bezos wanted to have an aircraft carrier, he could. Right. You could have a 155 millimeter howitzer in your front yard if you wanted to. Right. According to the Second Amendment. Right. You could, and they did. Right. You had privateers. Right. You had privately owned artillery. Right. We can't own those things. Right. I can't even own a little old machine gun. without going to prison for a long time.
Mhm.
Right? They would be furious at that.
Mhm.
Right? They would be. Even though they can't comprehend, something that could fire that many rounds rapidly, they'd be furious that the people don't have access to the same weaponry as the government. Right? That's the point of the Second Amendment in principle. And the principle of the First Amendment is to protect Christianity, right? European Christendom on American shores,
Mhm.
right? And the varieties therein,
Yes.
right? To prevent preeminence of one over another, right? That was the point.
It was a promise to the states that their particular religious arrangement could be preserved.
Because they knew how, this is why it's the First Amendment. They knew how important that was.
Mhm.
They knew that what if Maryland suddenly gets really powerful and dominates the federal government and they make Catholicism, right? They start importing 1 million Irishmen, right? Who could ever see that coming? Right? 1 million Irishmen to Maryland, and now they're the most populous state and they're all over the place, and now we're a Catholic country, right? They didn't want to see something like that happen, or Anglicanism in Virginia or wherever. Right? That's the reason for it, not so you could have Dearborn, Michigan,
Mhm.
right? Or monkey statues in Texas, right? They would be apoplectic at the very idea of that. But again, this is a conflict between universalism and particularism,
Mhm.
right? Always, that's what this conflict is. Well, we have these universal principles, we can never ever depart from them. It's like those are actually usually really good and glorious and great and very important when you have that situation. We don't have it anymore. We want to keep reading. I mean, there's a lot here.
Let's just go to the next one.
Yeah,
because it's
we're running
been
out of
2
time.
hours.
I got it. Yeah. Oh man, it has been. Okay. All right. Where are we at? Last one is question number 6. Oh, this is a fun one. Yeah, this was a fun one.
What is a historical example of the political order you would like to see in America? I love this one. How about the American Republic?
People always ask this.
Yeah.
Like, oh, are you like you're, it's a tabula rasa where you could just recreate everything.
I'll answer it. As an American, I'd like to see the original American Republic. If I was an Englishman, I'd like to see the English way of life and their political order. If I was a Frenchman, I'd like to see their nation when it was a Christian nation. Spain, same thing.
1789.
In other words,
Yeah.
all of Western Europe was like this. They were all Christian nations.
Yeah.
And they all had their idiosyncrasies. They all had their different ways of doing things. They all had their different interpretations. There's no one size fits all. This isn't theonomy. Sorry.
We've created the universal system of government that we want to have. Right. I mean, the question itself betrays a particular way of thinking.
Yeah.
Of universalism.
Exactly.
And it's like, I don't think there is
and this question right here.
For whom?
I asked this sixth and final question because I find that Christian nationalists do not at all agree on what mode they actually want to implement. And we don't have to.
No.
We don't
why
have
you do
to.
politics.
Yeah, that's why we do politics.
I hear them talk positively about medieval Christendom.
That was great for medieval Christians.
The view of the magisterial reformers.
That was great for the magisterial reformers.
And the American founding.
That was great for us. I mean, I don't.
And Kuyperianism.
Yeah, that was great for the Dutch.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Actually, it wasn't, but that's okay.
It was and it was.
Did you know Paul Gottfried doesn't like Kuyper?
I can believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can believe
He
that.
thought he was too egalitarian. Isn't that funny?
He is too much of a lib.
Yeah.
But
But anyways,
he's
like,
right.
we don't need to have this new thing. That was like one of my biggest
But I mean,
problems
what he
with this
says
whole
here-
conversation.
Yeah, look what he said. But Christian political thought has been far from static.
Correct.
Yes. During the 16th and 17th centuries, Protestants envisioned a strong and reform-minded civil magistrate, in part because they needed a civil magistrate
yes.
to do what the papacy and the Roman Catholic Church
Exactly.
said they were not allowed to do.
Exactly.
Oh, it's almost like there's a particular situation that required it. Like, come on. As various Protestant groups grew wary of jockeying among themselves and with Catholics for political power, as notions of tolerance
Yes.
and liberty began to look more attractive, even specifically Reformed thought
You know what it
splintered
does?
and evolved.
This betrays the Whig theory of history, where
Yeah.
everything's always better than what came
Always.
before.
And it's like I always get accused of that because I'm post-millennial.
Yeah.
And it's like, I actually don't believe that.
It's because you're actually more classical A, Emil. We can fight about that later.
We'll fight about that later. As Miles Smith has observed, differences among British Reformed Protestants, the Scots, and the English approach political theology differently. Between Britons and their French, German, Hungarian, and Swiss Reformed brethren, meant significantly different conceptions of the state marked international Calvinism. Right? I mean, that's the thing. Like,
that's the thing, man.
This is the issue. Isn't it so interesting that all these different nations, even they're like otherwise homogenous,
it's actually
very similar.
He's actually proving Christian nationalism.
Yes,
because it's not this universal internationalist thing, that the paradigm that has to be applied to everybody.
Their politics is different, and their theology is different.
Right.
Their theology corresponds to their national character.
Because it's nationalistic.
Yes.
But what is something that ties them all together? Their belief in the overarching Christendom.
Yeah.
And they all have their national flavors.
Right? The German and the Dutch Reformed people looked at the British and said, these are Christians. These are my brothers.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not Dutch.
Yeah.
They're not German. Right? Like, this is why the Pilgrims were not able to stay in Holland.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it wasn't England.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dutch were weird. And they are, I mean, I love Dutch people. I love them. But those big, tall weirdos, they're just different.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like, it's not like East Anglia. And that's what they're like, oh, we can't be here. And so we're going to go found a new America or a new England.
So all the rest of this is just examples of how everyone's different.
Right. Those differences increased during the Glorious Revolution, American Revolution, French Revolution, and the Napoleonic Wars. Yes, over and over during the Reformation. In the decades that followed, attempts to implement widespread religious uniformity ran into a brick wall.
This is so funny. Look, read this. Let's just read the conclusion part, because he makes our case, actually.
But after, I will finish this paragraph. After Protestants were defeated by Catholics in the Second War of Kappel, 1531, during which Zwingli was killed, both sides agreed to let individual cantons determine their religion rather than fighting for a religiously unified Swiss confederacy. Oh, interesting. In 1555, the Holy Roman Empire came to the same conclusion with the Peace of Augsburg's Curius Regio Oius Religio principle, which established each prince to determine the religion of his realm. Oh, wait, they didn't let individuals do it. Interesting. I mentioned these 500-year-old examples to show that even if the magisterial reformers had the correct view of church and state, it proved to be one that had applied to smaller and smaller locales. If the reformers' view of the civil magistrate could barely work in a small city of modern people with the same language, history, and ethnicity, what makes us think that their views could ever work in a modern nation state with tens of millions of people? Yeah, interesting. Why is everything falling apart? You can't have that. You can't. It doesn't work. Right? That's why. Like, America was actually all sorts of little different nations in one federal system. Right, that had very different character. Right, New England was not the Middle South, was not the Mid-Atlantic, and it was not the Deep South. Right, they were very, very, very different places, and they still kind of are.
Kind of.
I mean, the 20th century has done a number on America, but and made us into homogenous, gay people. But that's reality. Like, yeah. Guess what, Kevin Young? The globalist system is breaking down. You can't have all of humanity fit into this same box. I mean, that's what, like, the old multicultural. Like, no, it is the homogenization of humanity. That's what globalism is. It is coming apart. And so, anyway, we'll get down to the very end. That's really long.
It's just the first paragraph of the conclusion, and then we should call it.
Yeah, we should call it at that point, because I got to get going. I said it before you did.
I don't have to get going.
I know you don't. I do. This brings me to a concluding practical point. Political theology is not like the doctrine of the Trinity or the two natures of Christ. It has not been codified for almost 2 millennia. It does not sit at the heart of the gospel. It does not demand the same application and expression in every century.
That's it. That's
yes.
Yeah. That's why we're not calling for like something more specific than Christian nationalism. It can be broad. It can be broad. Yeah.
Right. To maintain that Calvin's Geneva is neither doable nor desirable as a political model for our day does not make one a progressive.
True.
Yes. It makes one a realist. Yes. about our times.
But here's the controversial point.
nature.
What if post-war liberal democracy is not doable today? Like that's at the heart of this.
It gets back to question number one.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's not.
What if it's not desirable as a political model for our day?
Yeah.
Does that make one a Nazi?
Yeah. That's right. Like, no.
It makes one a realist.
It makes one a realist, right? Much of what is triumphantly bandied about under the banner of Christian nationalism is the product of a digital echo chamber that bears little resemblance to what regular churchgoers talk about, right? Well, yeah, that's the nature of online.
Well, that's the nature of
any kind of discourse.
Yeah, that's the nature of Overton window shifting.
Like regular people are not going to quite get it until it reaches the mainstream, right? That's the nature with anything, right?
Actually, it's funny because when did we start these conversations? Like 10 years ago, right?
Probably.
But now it's a national talking point, and people are accusing Marjorie Taylor Greene of being a Christian nationalist. It's like, well, it's already broken through. It's not an echo chamber anymore. No, it actually is being talked about on CNN.
It is.
We're getting contacted by Rolling Stones and BBC and all these other places.
Kevin Doug, you're writing an article about it right now. It's not an echo chamber. We are responding to you.
Isn't the PCA doing like a major investigation into it?
Be totally stupid.
Well, but therefore it's not an echo chamber.
But it's not an echo chamber, exactly. It's going to be. When it comes out, we'll definitely. It's in Louisville this year. We should go.
When is it coming out?
See the sausage get made. I think it's going to be at this year's General Assembly. Part of believing. Much less, right? So regular churchgoers don't talk about it, let alone what the rest of the non-Christian population in a democratic nation would ever count as. Yeah, here's the other thing. All right, say that about gay marriage in 1985.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Or about immigration. I mean, when Trump was first getting elected in 2016, immigration was not really on everybody's tongue, but it was the online echo chambers that made it into an issue.
Yeah. And the Overton window has shifted so much now that talking about denaturalizing and ending heart cellar and doing remigration, right, is within inside the Overton window now.
Yeah.
And so, like it or not, like that's the way things are.
Yeah.
And so
that's how all movements are created.
Anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go back and listen to our episode on vanguardism.
Well, Martin Luther.
Yeah. There's an echo chamber. They're just writing little pamphlets back and forth to one another. It's like, well, yeah, then the Pope does some things.
Then the kings convert. That's
exactly.
what happens.
Like part of believing in God's providence is dealing with history and the development of the nation God has given us, not wishing for a political order that existed somewhere else long ago.
True.
And wasn't nearly as successful as some people like to remember it. But that's true.
Yeah.
And all right, do you believe that about post-war globalist liberal democracy, Kevin DeYoung? Right? It wasn't nearly as successful as some people like to remember it, right? Come on, man. Like, turning to Joe Biden here. Right. Moreover, those with the most outlandish proposals are the ones farthest from any levers of power. Right. Well, that's not what the media thinks. Right. The media thinks that I have a direct line to JD Vance. I mean, not quite, but like that's what they think, or Pete Hegseth or whoever. Like they're freaked out about it. Right. They're freaked out. Like Pete Hegseth goes to church in Doug Wilson's denomination. Right. Doug Wilson is calling up Pete Hegseth and directing which speedboats to blow up. Right. Like that's what they think. Like, oh, we're further from power. Honestly, like we have more cachet, right? People like us in our churches, politically, culturally, than the entirety of the PCA.
Yeah.
Than Kevin DeYoung's.
That's crazy.
Right? Really, we do. And it's not like we're tiny. We're insignificant, seemingly. The PCA has none. I mean, partly because they've designed themselves to be that way, and they institutionally, systematically promote cowards. Right? That's why. So the most outlandish proposals are the ones farthest away from any levers of power, most distant from any established institution, or like you remember. Do you remember the speaking of Vance? You remember the story, the article at News Channel 5 with picture of JD Vance.
Yes.
And then there's 5 other JD Vances. And they're too stupid to realize that it was a meme. Oh, it was great. Hosting a podcast does not a political profit make. I don't know. I'm right a lot more than a lot of other people are about a lot of things. Right. We are not getting rid of the First Amendment. No, I don't think we are. No,
We don't really intend to.
and
I do think it's.
I don't intend to either.
I do think it's possible to correct the misapplication of it.
But yeah, I mean, we just throw out all of the Warren Court. We throw out the incorporation doctrine, applying the 14th
And nobody
Amendment to the states,
wants to get rid of the First
right?
Amendment. So
And we keep the every word, every single letter of the First Amendment. We keep that thing enshrined in stone, right? We're not overturning the 19th Amendment either. No, I think we're probably going to get rid of voting before that happens. Right.
you think within our lifetime, you think?
I mean, maybe not. And it's hard to say who does it.
Yeah.
Right. Is it going to be Blue Caesar or Red Caesar? Right. But I think maybe within our lifetimes that will happen. I mean, let's think about it. Like $40 trillion of debt.
Well, we're not going to go down.
We're going to go down this. We are going to go
2.5 hours.
I know. We're here now. $40 trillion of debt, like $100 trillion of unfunded mandates. 200
trillion.
200. I didn't even know the number. Right. Like the whole thing is going to blow up. Yeah. And all sorts of people, like half the country that is reliant on the largesse of the taxpayer is not going to get it anymore at some point. That is the crisis that we have ahead of us. And so do you think voting is going to survive that?
No.
Right. I'm not even sure the U.S. Constitution is going to survive that.
It has nothing to do with us. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, now is the time to prepare your hearts and your minds politically for what happens when that crisis comes. Right now. Like, it could be 10 years out, actually. Right. When the Social Security checks stop coming. Right. Then what happens? Right. I don't know. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Right? You thought 2020 was bad? That's nothing compared to what will happen. Right. So I don't know. Anyway, we're not overturning the 19th Amendment. Right. Like, no, I don't want to. I mean, this is a question I got from the Rolling Stone guy. It's like, people say you want to get rid of the 19th Amendment. It's like, well, I'm a particularist. And our particular people could never conceptualize. Like, I could, sitting in a conversation with you or the audience, I can explain, like, here's how political order works, and here's why, maybe this is better or more ideal or whatever. You can have, like, ivory tower academic discussions about this stuff. But, like, the actual people we have, the actual America that exists today, the social order that we have, the cultural order, could never countenance that. Right. And
so it's not part of our major priority.
It's not a priority to me at all. And especially because like Republican women are great and a major reason why we have Trump. So I don't want them to stop voting. Anyway, America is not going to become a general equity theocratic republic. That I agree with. Presbyterians are not going to rule America as if we were in 17th century Scotland.
Yeah.
That project had a lot of.
Have you seen the Presbyterians?
Yeah. Check out my Presbyterians, dog. Like Stephen's book was right. Likewise, there's no political will beyond the outer reaches of social media for shutting down every mosque and every Hindu temple, let alone every Catholic, or every Jewish synagogue, every Mormon house of worship. There was will for that in the 19th century to shut down the Mormons. And if the above views were widely known, they would be roundly and resolutely condemned. There's a reason liberal news organizations like to highlight Christian nationalists. They know that most of their views are repugnant to most of America. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the definition of vanguardism.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we were leftists, like in the 60s, do you think like the idea of gay marriage would have been repugnant to most Americans?
Yeah, and you could highlight Harvey Milk and people like that. Look at this freak.
Yeah.
Look at this guy doing this stuff. Now he's a hero.
Yeah.
Right. They name U.S. Navy ships after that pedophile.
Yeah. Cultural takes time, takes centuries.
Yeah. And so it's like
I don't think any of us are under delusions that we're gonna change everything in the next 4 years.
Yeah. And so this is very Like, you want to talk about juvenile and oafish. That's what this is, right? Thinking even in these terms.
It's like this boom. Like, I don't want to demean Kevin DeYoung, but it's kind of like this boomer perspective that change can never happen. Everything's just inevitable. We're at the end of history.
Yeah. Oh, he's very Fukuyama-like.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Like that we just had, like, this is permanent.
But
never
also
going anywhere.
majorities change their opinion based on what is handed to them.
Yeah.
So the point is not to change the masses. We're not trying to change the opinion of the masses at all.
No.
I have no interest in doing that. In fact,
No.
they're hopeless. So
Yeah. Like, I don't want the levers of control of mass media to, like, brainwash people, right? In order to do these things.
No.
I would like the degeneracy of mass media to cease. But right, one of the final paragraphs. Let's finish with this. To be sure, there are serious theological conversations taking place that should continue. There are also conversations about political prescriptions that have zero chance of being enacted. Again, doesn't understand vanguardism. Here's some Christian voices expressing outrage that idolatrous worship is tolerated in our nation, but no one has ever pressed on the details of what it would look like to no longer grant legal toleration of false religions. Well, I mean, I think they should be deported. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well,
Dearborn, Michigan, just round up the whole place. They'll go back. Right. Iraq, Syria, right. Take your pick. Right. We'll pay for the ticket to go back. Right. Same thing with the Hindu monkey tip. Like, deport them. Right. Revoke their visas, denaturalize. Like, that would be how it would be done. And obviously, the political will is not there to do that.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it would be happening.
Mhm.
Like, political will is not there. But I can conceive of a circumstance
right. But
where
it
the
takes,
political
you
will
have to
could
get there.
happen.
He says, do we bulldoze the Buddhist temples? Do we arrest the worshipers on the spot or merely find them? We have to get there to those where those are actual questions. You don't start with those. Those are conclusions.
Exactly. Yeah.
Those are conclusions after all of our work that we can actually make.
What's A and B? Like a lot of it would just be like, I don't want to. I mean, some of it is like, okay, if America goes broke and there's a global economic collapse, unlike maybe like the Bronze Age collapse more than anything, not like the Great Depression, right? Are they going to want to be here?
Mm.
Right? Or would they be more comfortably being back in India or being back in Jordan and Dubai? Right? Like they go back home to their people.
Yeah.
Right. Right. That's I think how things happen.
I don't know. Like
I mean, who knows? Who knows?
we don't. Why do we have to answer these particular questions?
Yeah, exactly. It's silly. And should we only suppress foreign religions and target those who don't look like real Americans? Oh, come on. Like, what is America, Kevin? Right? What is America? Right? Is America Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, or however you pronounce her Star Wars name? Right? Like, no, it isn't. And people are finally like coming to that conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sharif Vidivar.
Trump wants to. Trump's thinking about
those Americans.
Trump's thinking about like why the Hart-Celler Act should actually just be repealed.
Yeah, like he tweeted that.
That's crazy.
He truthed it. He truthed it today. Like,
all right, now it's getting to a point where I have to go.
All right, I gotta go too.
It's the same. It's the same thing over and over again.
Yeah,
it's particularism.
The answer is particularism. Yeah, always is.
We don't need to handle every question now.
No, and that's why. I mean, and again, like the answer is particularism, and that the post-war global liberal order is dying, at least in the hearts and the minds of Americans and people all over the world. Right? They don't want to be dominated by the United States any longer. Right? Like, why is Rotherham in Europe? Why does that happen? Right? Because
we can't.
Britain and Germany and France and all these countries are dominated by America and told, you better take in these people or you're racists.
Yeah.
Right. That's why.
Yeah. We can't determine specifically and absolutely what an Englishman is. And so the whole world gets to go there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, gosh, I kind of know what an Englishman is. I have a pretty good idea.
And liberal democracy is not going to save them.
No, it's killing them, in fact. And so like these things are coming to a fore, and it's the same question in America, right? What is an American, right? Who is an American? Right? Is Ilhan Omar an American?
Mhm.
And like
Our bet is still on.
yeah, I think
You getting
I don't
nervous?
think it's. I mean,
You've been sweating.
yeah, I'm always sweating, but I don't think she gets denaturalized.
Oh, I didn't say denaturalized.
She's just gonna get kicked out of the country. All right. Anyway, I guess that's
All right.
that's kind of it for today. When
That's
are
it.
we recording next week? When are we recording next week?
We should move. We're going to try to move to a Wednesday so that Gary,
You always say that.
original Gary, could be back.
You always say that. Yeah, the original Gary 1 is going to make his reappearance. Hopefully, he always says that too. But I haven't.
Trump is changing the regulations on what are the name cafe laws? What are they?
Cafe standards.
Yeah, and so we might be able to have the original Gary back.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
That's great. He'll arrive in his Toyota Hilux. That's awesome. Well, yeah. I mean, that's kind of all we got for today.
we got 3 hours.
Only 2 hours and 40 minutes on this short podcast. Hopefully, you enjoyed the show. Share it with Kevin DeYoung and anyone influenced by him. That, I mean, ultimately the point is, right? These things are not terrifying and scary or anything they make them out to be. No. It's instead like we are questioning the premises that he is either unwilling or unable to question himself about our order and standing outside of it. Yeah, it's not like that. I mean, last thing, right? Like people think like, oh, these guys want to, they want to take over the country and do this like Christian Sharia and all this. It's like, no, like it's instead saying, is America good? Yes, we love America. It's our home. It's our place. And so it's a nation. It's a real nation with real people.
Mhm.
A real people with a real history, a real heritage, real commonality together that they share. And historically it was Christian. It still is Christian. The majority of Americans are still Christian. And just not the ones with power. And so we would like that to be reflected in how we live and how we organize our society.
Mhm.
That's it. It's not anything scary or terrifying. It's in fact very good. It's what Christians should be about.
Very historical.
Yeah.
I mean, he gave all those examples of all these countries that did it in all these different ways.
I know.
It's like,
and he still can't see it. Like
every single one of those examples he gave was a rendition or a version of Christian nationalism. That's at the end of the day, that's what it is. So
yeah, the fidgeting. Told you you're fidgeting.
Well, this is
Yeah, stop that. Stop that.
this is, but not this.
I don't know. Just don't be doing the fidgeting. Right? I fidget with my chair like this, like the Jay-Z gif, where he's like, you don't know what I'm talking about. Never mind.
No.
So anyway, that is actually in reality all we've got for today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope your Advent celebrations are wonderful. And you do a lot of Christmas caroling. I'm going to do Christmas caroling next week. If I'm healthy enough for it.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to do some Christmas caroling.
Sure, you expect me to be there?
No,
That's good.
that's okay. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Pray for the Supreme Court. Pray that they rule correctly on the 14th Amendment and that we can have our home once again. So all of you out there, stay peacefully dangerous, and we will see you next time.